Hello, welcome everyone. You are live with Amy Sousa, known Heretic, and Kay Yang, the Deprogrammer, as we are getting ready for live events in Austin. Kay Yang, the Deprogrammer, as we are getting ready. And as we always do, we are silencing our other screens for your and our benefit. And we are going to start with our wonderful promo video made by the fabulous Deprogrammer.
This is Kay Yang, and you're watching the Let Women Speak Speakers Corner USA Tour featuring Kelly J. Keane of Standing for Women UK.
If you would like to assist us in making this documentary, which is not about a few people sat down having long interviews, it's about real women doing things to try and stop the erasure of their rights and the mutilation of children's bodies. It's about the ordinary women that became activists through this, there's lots of stories to tell, and I'm happy for all of them to be told, but the story that we're going to tell here in our documentary is the story of ordinary women doing extraordinary things when they were pushed to extraordinary depths with this.
I want to thank all of the women who have been organizing. Obviously, a big thank you to Kelly J. Keane. This is for her documentary that she is doing across the United States. These are all of the dates that are coming. If you can make it to one of these cities, please do your best to get there. This is an opportunity for all U.S. women to share their voices. This is a chance for us to really revitalize and give a strong foundation to the activism that we have already been doing.
If you're in the USA, it is really easy to give towards this documentary to make more American women's voices heard, as well as those in the UK and in Europe. This little bit of history and uprising belongs to the brave women and girls who were standing up against this absolute tyranny.
This is about safety for women and girls. This is about defending children, and this is about future generations. We know that this is all leading towards transhumanism. This is leading towards a world of tighter top-down control and control of women and our reproductive systems and our biology. And we will continue to speak out against it. We will continue to name these things, and we will continue organizing across all of our political differences for our goals. For more videos from me, subscribe to my channel, The Deprogrammer on YouTube, and subscribe here to the Known Heretic channel to join the watch party as we live stream every stop on Kelly J's tour. We'll be linking up with women on the ground in every city to bring you live interviews with your favorite fearless female warriors and highlight the voices of women across the country who are standing up against the destruction of female sex-based rights in the name of gender identity laws and ideology. Join the live chat and connect with other women. We'll take your calls and platform your voice live on the show.
This is Speaker's Corner. This is a tradition in the UK. Unlike here, we don't have a right to free speech, and you're losing yours here in this country through hate speech laws which are coming. So what we've decided to do, because women face an existential crisis and the bodies of our children through the threat of transgender ideology, we thought we'd come to the very heart of where it's being sold to Americans through your schools, your children are being gaslit, coerced, and manipulated, through your doctors, through your very, very well-funded pharmaceutical industries. And so this is how we run it. You come and say what you want because you're finding in your places of work, you can no longer say that you don't want men in your spaces. You have to pretend that women have penises. You have to pretend that it's brave and stunning for girls in this country age 12 to have double mastectomies. So, if you want to speak, you come and speak. Speak really nice and loudly into this microphone so everybody can hear you. If not you, then who? If not now, then when?
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Kay Yang. I already see so many amazing women in the chat. Erin Brewer, we have Gay Chapman. We have so many of our usual. Beatrix, I want to send out my condolences. I am so sorry for your loss. Beatrix is one of my mods, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, we have to also tag on to that, Beatrix. We're so sorry for your loss. Thank you so much for being here, and we're so glad to have you. And I hope you're getting lots of supportive comments. And I see that you are from women in the chat. So,
yeah. Okay, so a couple of things I want to get on with our show today. We have a couple of things. We have a special guest waiting in the wings. But before we get to that, I want to get through some introductions. I want to give a shout out, first of all, to the amazing Jennifer Thomas and Ella Androphobia, who were our in the studio hosts during the Tacoma event. We appreciate them so much being here and hosting the live chat and keeping the watch party going. As you all know, we want these events to be a true watch party where we are gathered together, where all women can share their voices, where we can participate with one another. We want to make these community events. We want to hear from you. That's why we have a live call-in. We're going to be doing the call-in in a little bit, but I thank those ladies so much for holding the fort in the studio while I was on the ground in Tacoma. And unfortunately, Kay Yang popped in and out, but she couldn't be here the whole time. I do also want to introduce Kay Yang. As you all know, she is better known as the Deprogrammer, the writer, filmmaker, artist, activist behind the Deprogrammer YouTube and behind the Deprogrammer Instagram. She is also the creator of StopFemaleErasure.com, which I am going to put up right now on the screen. Where am I going to put it up?
Go ahead, I'll do it, Amy.
You're going to do it. You are going to do it because you know that I'm doing two things at once, and that's not going to work. I also want to, I think that's our, oh, good. You're so good. Okay. You're so great. I also want to say that Kay Yang, her work exposes the intersections of corporate, government, nonprofit collusion, driving the transgender movement, which is a smokescreen for a massive social engineering and propaganda war being used to facilitate female erasure in language and law. What we are always talking about, this is happening on a worldwide scale. Her work connects the dots between the normalized practices of child sexualization, the proliferation of biopharmaceutical transhumanist technologies, and frames these agendas as foundational to the colonization of the female body and female reproductive control. Kay Yang's perspective is uniquely informed by her past work uncovering the money behind the co-optation of direct action-based environmental resistance movements and indigenous land struggles, as well as her experiences indoctrinating youth with gender ideology in the New York public schools while working at an LGBT nonprofit funded by the New York State Department of Health. So she is our #1 whistleblower on this issue, and we are so grateful to have her expertise with us. I'm so lucky to have her as my co-host. And hey, Ella, I don't know if you were here. We just gave you a great big shout out for your work.
Thank you, Ella.
Thank you, Ella. I hope you heard that.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much, Amy, for your introduction. And I want to introduce Amy, even though she is a woman who really needs no introduction. I think we are all very familiar with her voice, her face. She has been all over the place getting this message out and talking about our boundaries and our bodily integrity. And I am just so grateful to have her voice out there talking about these things because they're less heard sometimes. And so I do want to introduce her. She has an MFA in theater from NYU, the Tisch School of Arts, and an MA in depth psychology from the Pacifica Graduate Institute. She has 20 years of theater education experience with 15 years in the New York City public schools system, teaching peer mediation, conflict resolution, anger management, self-esteem building, and literacy, and using theater engagement. She served as an education director at a small regional theater where she lives in Washington State. As you know, she does a lot of work there in her hometown. She recently did the Let Julie Swim protests. Amy's graduate and postgraduate work focused on creative imagination and eco-psychology as a basis for building embodied awareness and psychological integrity. I love that. She's currently a women's rights activist, as you know. She's an educator and a facilitator whose work focuses on embodiment, boundaries, intuition, instincts, and sense perception as an internal authority building practice. This is so important. So you're probably already following her on Twitter and Instagram, but if you're not, follow her at The Known Heretic. Subscribe here on YouTube for all kinds of videos from her and more live streams just like this. And also visit her website, littleredreverberations.com.
Yay. Thank you, Kay Yang, for that. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Ladies, I really just cannot stress how much I adore partnering with this woman. And we are so excited because we have been, before we introduce our special guest, I cannot help say this, but Kay Yang and I have been connected since my very first event. We were co-organizers of the Women Picket DC against Biden's EO in 2021. That was our first time working together, where we staged a huge, massive event in front of the White House on the lawn right there in DC. And since then, we have continued to partner together. We have continued to grow closer and closer together. And we have a lot of things coming in the works for you. So we've been really inspired by this whole tour, and it has just solidified the work that we're doing together even more. So we can't wait to say what is coming. I do want to put up, before we get going, I'm going to put this up later as well. So this tour has been, it has taken just a little bit more from us than we thought. Kay Yang and I, our passion is our activism, and we put all of our own time and money into this activism, but the length and breadth of this process is taking a little more than we anticipated, and a little more than we can cover on our own expenses. So we are asking for a little bit of help. And one of the main things that you'll see in the Gives and Go that I have put up, there's a couple of things that we're asking for. We're asking for some equipment. We're asking for some miscellaneous travel/food expenses. We're asking for some miscellaneous help with some banners and posters. But the main thing that this money is going for, we are co-organizing Philly and DC events, and we are trying to get security. It is becoming more and more clear that security is required at these events for women to have public assembly and public free speech. So we really appreciate any help that you can put towards that security. That is the number one highest expense of this request. So the number that you see largely represents that cost as the biggest cost. And even if we can't get the other expenses covered with this money, whatever we raise, we will put towards that security first and foremost. So thank you for anything that you're able to give.
Yes, and I want to take a moment and thank all of the women in all of the cities across the United States who immediately jumped to the moment that they saw that Kelly J was coming to the US and setting up planning to come to these different cities. We had groups of women jump forward and just put all of their time, their energy, reach into their pockets to make these events happen. This is largely a grassroots campaign, although there are bigger organizations that have been involved. Women on the ground are grassroots and doing this work, just normal women coming forward. And a lot of you are in the chat. I know I see Pinwheel in the chat. She's been one of the women who has put all of her time and energy into organizing with the Miami event, VF555 as well. They have been tirelessly organizing where they are. So I want to give a shout out to them and just all of the women across the country. We applaud all of you, and we just encourage everyone to continue with as much teamwork as we possibly can. I know it's difficult. There's a lot of us coming together from different backgrounds. We have different viewpoints. We don't all agree on everything, and things can get messy, but we really want to support and encourage everyone to just continue to keeping clear lines of communication and respect and just as much cooperation as possible, because we are working towards a broader goal that is bigger than all of us. This is about defending children and all future generations. So I just wanted to just take a moment to thank all of the women out there and all of you who are here attending these live streams, who are joining with women in the chat, who are bearing witness to what's happening on the ground. We're bearing witness to our women giving their testimony and giving their voice of dissent. And we're also, unfortunately, bearing witness to misogynistic acts of violence being committed against women in broad daylight with no repercussions happening for the men who are assaulting them. There is no media coverage for this. There's barely any media coverage of this. So we thank you to all of you, and thank you for your support. We have all kinds of amazing women here with us. Kat Turvins. I see Kat Turvins in the chat. Hey, sister. I see Lier is in the chat. I see Athene. I see Jamie, Lola, VF55. She's always here. We love you, sister. And we do have a special guest here with us today. She is one of the women who attended the free speech event in Portland the other day. And I'm not sure if she is quite hearing us and ready to join. So while we are getting
I think
to get her attention.
I think she is, and she shared a little bio, so I want to just give that up. So we are waiting to hear from Carmen May. She is a longtime writer. She has an MFA in creative writing, an undergrad in English, Spanish. She is a teacher, a children's advocate, an environmentalist. She's a Democrat socialist who's lived all over the world, including Japan, Spain, Mexico, the US, Saudi Arabia. She's a dual citizen of the US and the UK. So she's well acquainted with Turf Island politics. And of course, she is a lifelong feminist. So we are very lucky to have her here today.
I want to share the video too.
You're going to share the video. Okay, so we're going to share some video of her. Thank you, ladies who are donating, and thank you everyone who is in the chat. We really appreciate you here. Go ahead with the video, Kay Yang, and then we'll get Carmen right in.
Yes, I'm just going to show a clip of what went down the other day. Let's see. We can get it as big as possible.
We just got to talk. A few days ago, in a rape crisis shelter, a man said he was a woman and was let into the shelter. His first order of business was to rape a woman in the rape crisis shelter who was there because she had just been raped. There was a dead rat nailed to the door by trans activists. We just got to talk. gratuitous. What's violence? Nothing new to us. We people of the uterus. This is what you do to us. Your violence so gratuitous.
Okay, and so you just saw Carmen May with a group of women at a free speech event in Portland the other day. She was also with our sister Gina Hoach and Rachel Gebhardt. Holly Hart was there, and a number of other women. I got chills just watching that and listening to Carmen sing. And if you didn't see the live stream the other day, please go back. It's in the old streams under Amy's channel. You should see the entire thing and see how the women responded and the bravery that Carmen showed, and also just the passion and power and the space that she held down when she stood in the face of violent, misogynistic male abuse and she sang her song. I absolutely love that song. And it is with that said that it is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you our sister, Carmen May. Carmen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes,
we can hear you, Grace, just fine.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you asking me to be here today and tell my side of the story.
Yeah, well, we'd love to hear, Yolanda, by the way, is with you in the chat. Leah Keith is with you in the chat. So many women are here in the chat with you who were watching during the event. And if you could just, describe to us what was going on. And also, I just want you to know, everyone loves your song so much. It was so perfect, but I'm going to let you tell your story.
Thanks. So let me explain actually why I wrote that song. I actually wrote it the night before what was supposed to be Kelly J. Keen's rally on October 25th in Portland. So I wrote it on October 24th. And I wrote it because what I figured is that there'd be, we'd be shouted down at the rally. You'd be barely able to hear anybody. And I would be whispering it into the mic, but at least it would be heard on the live stream and would make my point. That was kind of what I figured would happen, right? So I did not know that the rally would be canceled because of death threats. And we kind of figured, so when we went down there, I'll just explain what happened the day of the rally. Our friend, who I'm sure would be happy to be named, Paul, he showed up, and he's a longtime activist as well. And by the way, what I want to say is that I think that there's a misconception that we are right wing. We are actually radical leftists, which I know is maybe not going to win us any fans on the right, but this is just the reality. This is the truth. We were there with longtime organizers. The friend of my friend Rachel, her mother Sandy has been doing protests since the Vietnam War in the 1960s. So we were all longtime, lefty organizers. I'm pretty new to this game, but the people that we were there with are old hands at this. And Paul arrived first and told us the coast was clear. And so we kind of figured that actually it was going to be a bit of, we were going to have some space, some breathing room to just engage with the public and explain the issues, because a lot of the problem with this is that it all goes on in the shadows. It's only being covered by the right-wing press, which is extraordinary because this is a leftist issue. And so it's absolutely extraordinary that it's only being covered by the right-wing press. It's being completely, totally snubbed, this movement, by mainstream liberal media. So that's mainstream liberal media is all, I'm sorry to say this, I'm really sorry to say this because I used to be one of these people, but it tends to be all that liberals read. And you guys really need to read more widely because, it's tribalism. Your party is not entirely telling you the truth either. What I've realized now is this is true of both parties. I mean, they are financially motivated and they are politically motivated, and they are not entirely telling you the truth. You need to read all sources. You need this. I have a background as a researcher. You need to learn how to use, the internet and delve a little bit deeper in order to read widely on all issues, to consider all sides. And so then you would see actually what's happening, because it is reported on the right-wing press. In any case, we kind of thought, okay, nobody knows about this. This is why we go down there to talk about the issues, because we want to let people know about this and engage with the public because they don't know about this. And Paul said the coast was clear. We got down, we set up our equipment. We had some loudspeakers. We had a microphone and a speaker. We, you know, I maybe shouldn't give this detail away, but we taped our phone to the lamppost, which I think was a brilliant stroke of genius, because then no one can hit your phone out of your hand. And you're not just holding the phone and you don't have a bunch of confused different videos that different people have taken that all show one clip. Instead, what we were able to get was everything on video for the live stream. We showed up, we started doing our protest. Yolanda spoke first. After Yolanda spoke, oh no, I think Gina spoke first, and then Yolanda spoke. And then I decided
actually, I think Rachel's daughter, Amelia, was our first speaker.
How could I forget that? Yes, Amelia started us off about Save Girls Sports, of course, which really affects her as a young girl. So she started us off. Rachel, who is one of the main organizer of the event, her daughter Amelia started us off. So we had 3 generations of her family there with us, since her mother was also there. And then Gina spoke, and then Yolanda spoke, as far as I remember. And then I began speaking. And I'm going to be completely honest here and say that I purposely kept my message about women, because to me, like, I'm not here to say, I didn't even use the word transgender, because I mean, full disclosure, I know a ton of trans people. I have lived with 2 different trans women. This is not my experience, and my understanding of the trans community comes from knowing and having spoken with literally hundreds of trans people, actually. And having been a part, as somebody who is bisexual, having been a part of this community, not that I need to say that, I don't think it really matters, but I know I'm going to be accused of being homophobic as well.
Yes,
so
we always are.
So I'm saying that. Yes, so I was keeping my messaging purposely focused on women, and I began talking about how a woman had just been raped in a shelter because a man showed up and said he was a woman, and his first thing that he did was rape a woman in a shelter. So my mom used to work in a shelter when I was growing up, a domestic violence shelter. And I remember you had to have 3 different people give a piece of the address to the woman and then meet her at a separate location to take her there. So because a woman might be coerced into telling a violent man where the location was, so that no man would ever find out the location. Despite this fact, 2 women that my mother worked with were murdered after leaving the shelter. One of them changed her name and moved to California. This is how, and she was still tracked down and murdered. This is like, these men, you do not have men in a violent shelter for this reason, right?
Where has that safeguarding gone? That safeguarding that you were just describing from when your mother worked at a rape crisis shelter, where has that gone?
There is no safeguarding anymore. In fact, people do not, we all have a collective amnesia that has descended in the last 5 years over the term safeguarding and what it even means. And it's, to me, this seems a bit like a backlash against Me Too as well, because we know, so I don't think people are aware right now, rape is actually at an all-time high in the UK and the US. In the US, it's an all-time high since the 90s. In the UK, since they began recording, which I think was in like 2006 or something like that, they began recording these rates of rape. It's at an all-time high. A lot of experts have tied this to the availability of what's called gonzo pornography, which is like 90% shows extreme abuse of women within the scenes. It's not just sex on tape. It's like abusive. It's, sexual abuse on tape. And it's been sort of linked to that. I'm a survivor, unfortunately, more than one times over of domestic violence and sexual violence.
As are many of the women that are here in this, myself, Amy, and many of the women who are involved in this movement.
What I would like to say about that is that the women that are involved in this movement, many of us, are here out of empathy, because we are the same demographic of people that are getting sucked into this. Yes. For example, I was an extremely gender nonconforming child who used to insist that I was a boy and used to just cut off all my hair and destroy dolls and dresses and would refuse them. Everybody would say I was a boy, and my parents would correct them and say I was a girl. I don't think that last part would happen today.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a part of it. When I hit adolescence and I was this, sort of skater punk,
Yes.
I was really shoved into femininity, like it was really forced upon me. So now there's the second choice. You are either forced into femininity, which you may not want, as it gets more and more self-objectifying and more
Right.
about women being submissive. You may not want that, and then you find that you have this other option, and this other option requires that you're not just allowed to want to dress like a skater and have your short hair and your punky style. You have to also get a double mastectomy and take hormones, and that's kind of, and this is not fear mongering. This is there's an immense number of children that are being put onto this track right now, and I find that very sad. It's like we've returned to 1950s era gender roles, and so what I'd like to say is that actually gender is very conservative as a concept, and gender bending is only revolutionary when you claim your sex.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes.
Otherwise you are reifying gender.
Yes.
You are saying if you like blue and playing with trucks, you're a boy. If you like pink and playing with dolls, you're a girl. That's reifying and reinforcing the gender stereotypes and hierarchy. And so I'm coming at this from a feminist who understood that 10 minutes ago, everybody understood this on the left. This collective amnesia is very recent and very driven and very motivated. And I was talking about these issues, and I was talking about the woman. So there is no more safeguarding. The woman was raped in the domestic violence shelter by a man who identified into the shelter for that purpose, obviously. There are women in prison who are being raped right now. Here's just one example off the top of my head. There's a man who raped and murdered a mother and her 2 daughters and set them on fire, who's now in a women's prison in New Jersey. What's one example, for example. These are the most dangerous men in society. Some of them have to have armed escorts because they attack guards. And women's prisons are minimum security by default because women don't usually commit violent crimes, and there's a far smaller, like not even close to the number of female prisoners compared to male prisoners in this country. So if you have 300 men who are being transferred into a population of 3,000 women, that's going to make a huge difference. Those men are going to run the prison, right? Right now in California, there are 300 prisoners being transferred into women's prisons. 1/3 of them are sex offenders, are there for sex offenses. This is something the ACLU is trying to cover up. They're trying to block FOIA requests. Those are public information record requests, which everybody has a right to ask for. The ACLU, who used to advocate for the Nazis' right, because that is their right for free speech and freedom of expression, is now advocating for banning books and trying to block FOIA requests. This is an emergency, and this is why we're out there doing this. So I was talking about this, and what I said is that there were death threats, and I said women are being terrorized for speaking, and what we're asking for is a conversation. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking to shut anyone down. We're not asking to erase anyone. We're not trying to make anyone not exist. That's not the point. Actually, we want to have, this is called, when there's a clash of rights, you have a conversation. And that's what we do in democratic republics, right? Is that you have in our democracies, you have a conversation. So I was asking for this, and it was too on the nose. Like if I was doing this as a scene, if I was writing this as a scene, I would be like, no, this is way too on the nose, because it was right at that moment that we were attacked by the trans activists. And Yolanda said, we're coming. And I thought that they would stand behind us and yell. And I thought, I'm going to stay on message. And then she said more urgently, they're coming. And it was like a horror movie. I turned and I saw the pie inches from my face. And if you go back and look at the video, you'll see actually that I ducked. And so somebody on Twitter was like, because they're throwing pies at other people and they hit them in the back. And they're like, how, when they were aiming at someone else, did they hit that speaker? Well, I'm going to explain what happened. Actually, what happened is that I ducked, and my attacker, who was over 6 feet tall and a man, followed me down into the duck and ground the pie into my face, ripping out my ruby earring, which was lost. He also tried to grind my head into the pavement, and I was right in front of a lane of oncoming traffic, and he was trying to knock me into the street.
Of course.
And I used to do judo, and I just instinctually went into the crouch where you plant your feet, and he could not get me to topple. And so I just he was on my back, and I sort of bucked and rolled him, and then this all happened in fewer than 10 seconds, and he took off. And in fact, this would happen to everyone else. Amy was also tackled. Paul was also tackled. You can see it looks like a bear hug he gives him, right? Absolutely nobody went down, but they were actually trying to bring us all down. So this was not a simple friendly pieing. This was an assault. This was a punch in the face.
As I described it to people on Instagram, I told them assaulted with pies, but these are punches disguised with a pie.
Yes.
These are blows. These are physical blows to the bodies of these women and male allies. And these men and possibly there were females with them as well, but these violent male trans activists, they came with the explicit intent of doing bodily harm to women. They did not come for fun and games. They wanted to hurt, not just to humiliate, not just to subordinate with a pie in the face, but to physically harm. And they disguised their punches and blows with whipped cream.
That's exactly right. And I want to point out that pie in face is a fetish as well.
Yes,
one that often overlaps with other fetishes, and it's designed to humiliate. Yes. And so this is, it's no coincidence that it's only women who have been pied. Notice that it was only the women who were pied. The man was not attacked with a pie.
Right. And so, even Holly Hart, who I saw in the background, was even crunched over. She was crouched over doing something. She wasn't even looking up. She was in a position where she could have easily been knocked to the ground. And she's an older woman in our movement, and much older than me anyways. And she was really hit very hard with the pie, and she could have been severely injured. And they had no discretion for the fact that this was an older woman, not at all. They didn't care.
They don't care if it's older women. They don't care, young, old. They really don't. They don't care.
Rachel and her daughter had to run out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Rachel grabbed her daughter's hand and took off. They didn't care that a child was there. They don't care whether it's a sexual thing or whether it's just trying to destroy my mother type of thing. This is directed toward women. Yolanda was just saying in the chat that they were trying to take her megaphone, and they were struggling with her so hard they ripped it in half. They played tug of war with Gina with the signs. They really attacked us, and they're trying to knock us all to the ground, which is actually quite dangerous because somebody can end up dead. And we all kept our feet, but that was a stroke of luck and instinct.
Again, with the oncoming traffic right there as well, and being pushed towards the traffic, that can be a lethal situation.
That's why I struggled so hard, because this was a kind of narrow little lane. It didn't have any shoulder, so traffic was coming in my direction, and it would have been inches away from the curb. So I knew if I fell in the street that it was just not a good idea. And that's why I struggled to keep my feet, and was successful in that. And I popped back up and started singing. And so I saw people.
You were so brave, and you were so powerful. It was amazing. Like, you're a hero.
Thank you. I mean, I saw people on Twitter, and I know I shouldn't pay attention to the negativity. It was mostly positivity. But even people on our side was like, she must not have much experience to be in tears from that. I was like, actually, the assault was off camera. I wasn't hit in the face with a flying pie. I had a guy try to grind my head into the pavement. And that's why I was a little bit in tears. Like, I've experienced.
Shouldn't be shaming women for expressing their emotions and responding to what's going on, because we all know how serious this is, that this is not just an issue in America. This is an issue all around the world. It's the US government, it's international government, it's global governing bodies like the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. We know how serious this is. We know that women's sex-based rights are being revoked all around the world. Women's backs are against the wall, and women are going to be triggered, and justifiably so. And we have responses and emotions. And yes, we should try to keep our wits about us when we're in an escalated situation on the ground. But women have emotions and responses. And Amy and I talk so much about holding space for our feelings and emotions. And we were crying. I was bawling while we were watching you on the live stream. I was just like streaming tears, and all night last night when my heart was racing, thinking about all of this stuff going on, I just kept hearing your voice in my head and your song.
Yeah. I mean, it's just insane that we are living in a world in which women can be assaulted in broad daylight and nothing happens. And we've seen these responses again and again, where women stand to peaceably assemble and peaceably speak. I hate when they characterize what we're doing as a protest, where we are using our rights to express our desires. And so many of us do exactly what you did, which is to put it in the positive, speak about what we are for, speak about sex-based safeguarding, speak about protecting sex stereotype non-conforming children from unnecessary medicalization, speaking for the realities of our physical bodies. And it's just insane to me that we are in a time and a place where men feel emboldened to attack women in broad daylight. And as we see from events like in Chicago or Madison or Port Townsend or Philadelphia, we see that the police are often called and they do nothing. And of course, this encourages and emboldens. The mayor of my town expressed his pride at the way things were handled. He was inciting this before they even arrived in our town. He was inciting people to stand up against bullies. So these mainly elderly women and middle-aged women are characterized as bullies. And so for some reason, if they call us a TERF, they can feel free to attack us in broad daylight, which is in absolute insanity.
Which is a very good point to remind people that TERF is used as a slur, and it is used to dehumanize us and to label us. And that is one of the 10 stages of genocide. So this is how serious this is.
Yeah.
Carmen, back to you. You have so much to share. You are absolutely brilliant, by the way. I'm loving having you as a guest. Amy has an update for us.
It is so great. And I want to just keep everyone updated. We are waiting. This is a free speech event for women, and we are waiting to go live in Austin. They were meant to go live about 13 minutes ago. They have not gone live yet. We did have briefly some footage from the ground. If we can gather some more footage from the ground, we're going to put it up as soon as we get it. We have been informed by the organizers on the ground that Kelly J. Keene is on her way to the event. Megan Murphy, who you all know, is on her way to the event. The amazing Isabella Malbin is setting up the event. So this is coming to you. We are going to give it to you as quickly as we get live footage. We will be giving you live footage. So I do want to keep you updated with what is happening. And as soon as that live footage starts, we will go forward with that. But yes, not to interrupt, Carmen, and thank you so much for being with us here today. And this is exactly what we want to do. We want to give women an opportunity to speak. And I'm so glad you had that in Portland. And unfortunately, the way things turned out in Tacoma, you were not able to share your voice in Tacoma.
Yes, I was actually at Tacoma as well. And I'm not going to go into everything that happened there, except to say that it got extremely violent. I'm an educator, and it's very sad to me to see there were a bunch of high school students there because it was near a school. And it's sad to me to see the indoctrination of an entire generation, because this has been going on for the last 5 years in schools. They're teaching kids, things like that sex is a socialist construct that was brought over by colonizers and forced upon indigenous people, which frankly is a noble savage narrative that's very racist.
Yes, and it's a lot more than that as well, because the entire history and conception of the terminology of Two-Spirit is not at all what it is presented to be. And I will turn it back to you, but I want to let people know Isabella Malbin, who is one of the organizers for the Austin Speakers Corner today, is a very good friend of mine. She hosted me for a master class on her site Whose Body Is It?, where I did a deep dive into delving into and unpacking this idea and concept of two-spirit, as well as the concept of third genders around the world. So if you're interested more in that, look for that on her site, and I'm gonna be creating some free resources around that as well. I know that there were some great articles about it on Feminist Current, so you can look for those too. Go ahead, Carmen, continue, please.
Thank you. I will definitely check that out. The art, yes, it's kind of complicated, but for example, the Iroquois did not have any concept of two-spirit because they were matrilineal, and they had their gender roles, but they were very egalitarian, and so they didn't force people. If you're egalitarian, there's no hierarchy. Right. You don't need to force people to do something. So if they stray outside their gender role, that's just fine. And so they didn't understand. They would trade with people who had other concepts, but they didn't, which two-spirit later was invented in the 90s, as far as I know. But the concept, maybe some people did have. There are third gender concepts around the world. They tend to be in highly patriarchal societies that have a hierarchy between men and women. Absolutely. And it's gay men who are shoved into that third gender category.
Yeah, that's a good brief synopsis of some of the issues with that. Yeah, absolutely. Carmen, I don't mean to cut you off, but I am seeing that we are getting some live footage on the ground of what's happening in Austin. I just saw Megan's luxurious locks. Who do we have with us on the live? There she is. There's Megan.
Oh, hi.
Hey, welcome.
Megan.
Welcome. There she is.
Well, I was scanning and they mentioned your name. So we just saw Megan's luxurious locks.
All right. Yeah, I see Megan's luxurious red hair over there.
Can we say hi to her?
What's that?
Anna Maria, can we say hi to Megan?
Yeah. Can they say hi to you? I don't know. Hello.
Hey,
Hi,
Ms.
Megan.
Welcome.
Megan, people just ask me. Oh, okay.
Megan.
It's what? It's Amy Sousa. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to be live streaming the event. Is that what I'm doing?
Yeah, and if you want to right now, what we would love to see, maybe if you can get some footage of the crowd for us, so you can turn your camera around and we can get some footage of the crowd and see what's going on.
Okay.
So if you want to introduce yourself, Anne-Marie, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience and everybody watching.
Oh, sure. Hi, Anne-Marie Love.
Much.
I'm Trixie. There's Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
And here's the crowd. It's kind of just getting started, so.
Great.
Do you want to introduce yourself and let everyone know why you came to Austin State Capitol today?
Okay, I'm Anne-Marie Love. I live in Austin. I saw these ladies about a month and a half or 2 months ago at the library, so it moved me to come back and support them further.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much.
And we want to save the tomboys.
Save the tomboys, indeed.
Yeah.
Do we have any of the big Save the Tomboys banners or posters around?
I don't know. I think I saw a hat though. Let me find her. But I would love one too.
Yeah, there was I think it was Gigi LaRue and Aaron Friday out on the West Coast. They put a big truck together that said Save the Tomboys, and it was driving around in different cities, which was amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a perfect campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Us poor little lesbians out here.
Yes, Anne-Marie, can you speak to your experience and what brings you to this? Can you speak to your experience and what brings you to this struggle? How you feel about the erasure of women and lesbians?
Oh, for sure. So I first realized it a few years ago. I was in these lesbian groups, and I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm not interested, like, in penis or whatever. And I was called a TERF, which I didn't know what it was, and then a vulva fetish for, like just things like that. Like I was really ostracized from that, and then don't know, I've been strict online dating too, and I'm just like, well, isn't it lesbian? You know.
Are you talking about males coming on to the lesbian dating apps and posing as lesbians and trying to actually meet up with lesbians?
Oh no, that happens all the time.
Yeah, I'm just reiterating for people if it's hard to hear.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, totally. It happens all the time. It happens at clubs too, you know. It's just kind of like, all right, like, I mean, I get it, but just be upfront about it. I feel like I would be upfront about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just kind of
yes, because when you're lying about your sex and trying to engage into a romantic or sexual situation with someone, this is sexual assault. This is non-consensual sexual aggression.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. So it's just kind of like, I mean, and I was like talking to someone for 2 weeks, like with texting and gonna go meet up. And then I'm like, oh my God, you know, that's a lot of wasted time there. Like, I don't want to be with a man. I'm sorry. I'm like gold star lesbian. That's not happening. I'm not bisexual, you know.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. We love it. We love lesbians of all kinds, our gold stars, of course. It looks like I'm getting a message from Isabella that they're getting ready to start.
Yeah, they're just starting. So I'll start streaming.
If you want to move around and get us a view of what's going on and our speakers, we are so grateful and appreciative that you were available to jump in at the last minute and take this role on. This is what it's all about. Everyday women just coming forward and bringing forth their time, skills, and energy. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Yang, are you going to grab the other footage?
What's that?
What a day this has been.
Are you grabbing
Why it's almost like being a international catchphrases. How good are they? Okay, so we're here today to say the words out loud that some of you are no longer allowed to say. That it's wrong to transition children. That it's medical abuse to give children puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and 13-year-old girls double mastectomies. We are going to say words like men cannot be women, men are not welcome in our spaces. Changing your biological sex is absolutely impossible. And a woman doesn't need a religious belief in order to know that men cannot be women. Don't have to be a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu. You can just be a woman with, I don't know, a brain. So these events are really important, and I know that some of you will have seen what happened in Tacoma, and the fact that we had to switch. I think it was a great decision. I still stand by the decision that I tried to keep myself and other women as safe as possible. We didn't quite achieve it in Tacoma, and April, with trans activists' bare hands, otherwise known as a man, he just crushed her hand and broke her fingers with his own, which is, you know, this is what we're facing. I'm not saying anyone's going to get their hand broken today, and I'm very pleased to be surrounded by strapping men. But I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but that's the risk. And if it's not physical assault and injury, it's abuse. It's your jobs, it's your livelihoods, and the worst of all, it's taking your children into this cult. So, we as women, we call it Let Women Speak because women chose those words for ourselves. It's not because I think we should ask, it's not a beg, it's a Let Women Speak, because when we were in Nottingham, in the UK, a group of trans activists tried to shut us down, so the women organically just came up with Let Women Speak, and we have held on to it because, if nothing else, what we do here at Standing for Women and with Let Women Speak is we literally are guided by women that come to our events. This is not a hierarchy. This is not a community even. This is just a place in which we say to any woman, whatever your views, you have a place to talk, and it's really absolutely vital. Okay, how it goes is we'd like to keep your speeches as long or as short, as long as necessary, as short as possible. So that as many women as possible get their chance to speak. So we're going to start with the legislative Canadian feminist, Megan Murphy.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. It's nice to be here. It's actually so easy to be here. I can't switch over to Kelly Joyce today. So I apologize for reading off of my phone. I know that, I mean, I love talking, but I need notes for this. First of all, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for being courageous enough to show up to support women's rights. It's very scary to speak about these things, especially in public, especially with all the violence that we've witnessed. We saw women attacked, as Cozy mentioned, in Portland and Tacoma, and of course this has been going on since the moment. The things that I want to say about this are so simple and straightforward. Trans person. That's not a thing that exists. There's no such thing as a trans child. There's no such thing as a person who's changed sex. Conversations about trans rights are pointless and incoherent, and that's because there's no category of trans people. There's men and women and boys and girls, and that's it. We haven't evolved past nature. Your thesis paper has not trumped biology. What we have been enmeshed in now for years is not a debate about so-called trans rights, but that's okay. But about whether or not men have the right to access women's change rooms, women's shelters, be transferred into women's prisons, compete in sport with and against women. And this is all because a very small group of entitled fetishists demand they be centered in every conversation. And because of this small group of men, we have been destroying the bodies and lives of kids who are tragically surrounded by adults who want to impose their narcissistic ideologies on children who don't know any better. The fact that we even need to have these conversations is insane, but we do, so here we are. And meanwhile, progressives and so-called feminists have sat back and watched women who speak the truth about this insanity be harassed, threatened, attacked, fired, censored, libeled, ostracized, and vilified. Our lives are in danger, and those who claim love is love would love to see us dead for speaking the truth. It's true. Many more have, thank goodness, begun to speak out now, years after women like myself and many other women here, including, of course, Cozy, we warned about what was going to happen early on. Women spoke about this early on and predicted what was going to happen, and we could never have even predicted how bad things have gotten. We predicted that gender identity, ideology, and legislation would trump women's rights, but I don't know that any of us, I certainly did not predict that we would be mutilating kids' bodies in defense of this ideology, just because so many adults are too cowardly to say no. And, I've become sort of loath to fall back on sexism as we started to blame various isms without thinking or engaging in more nuanced analysis. But I can't help but point out that it was women who warned about this first, and it was women who weren't listened to. The sad truth is that most would prefer to go along rather than rock the boat, And that's why we need leaders, the kinds of people who cannot simply go along when they see something wrong or dangerous is happening. Women like Posey, Mary Lou, Michelle, Isabella, all of the rest of you here. These people are punished the most, but without them, we wouldn't see any change or mass movements to fight back, which I believe we're seeing right now. I believe we are seeing pushback. One of the reasons that we speak out, even though it's scary, even when we're ignored, even when we're punished, is because we need to show other people that they can stand up, that they can say things like, men aren't women, there's no such thing as a trans child, you can't mutilate the bodies of kids. It sometimes feels like we're winning, but it's been a slow road, and we're still faced with so many people with power and privilege, the entertainment industry, big tech, the Democrats, claiming that men are women and that there is such a thing as a trans kid and that those kids have to be medicalized. We're living in crazy times that are frankly embarrassing. The fact that history books will look back on this time as a time when the population went along with the ridiculous lie that men can be women if they say so is embarrassing. And I don't know if the history books will recall that we did fight back, but we did, and we are, I think, making a difference. And we're paving the way for women like Tulsi Gabbard and J.K. Rowling, and for young women athletes and advocates for female immigrants, and just regular women, regular people to speak up. And we're enabling countless others to speak up and say, men aren't women, though. I come here on behalf of the silent majority of women. Like them, I asked myself, who am I to speak? I told myself, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm no activist or feminist. Feminism doesn't want me, and the feeling is mutual. So who am I to speak out? I told myself,
Oh my God. You can stay in this section. Yeah. Sir, you got this time. Sir, you got the thing. You got them. You dropped something and the guy picked it up. I'm trying to be helpful, pushing on.
Okay, you have to unmute yourself so we can hear the sound coming from the sound is coming from your screen. You have the sound. You have to unmute you.
Courageous and how to speak the truth and standing for women gave me a voice. I am not here to speak truth to power. I am here to speak sense to women, to plead with them to get off the couch, to look reality straight in the face and say no. No, not our spaces, not our bodies, not our children. Stand up and defend your power as women. Because as Susie said, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? We see you. We see you. Big angry man. Did maybe not love you very much. If you would have picked any reason you would have tried to shout at women in the streets. Any reason. This, oh God, date a trans woman then. All the people making a noise. Except these two moronic turkeys voting for Christmas lesbians here. Anyway, right. There's a man losing his voice. It's going to be great when he does. Right. So, we are going to continue. Because what we're not going to do is we're going to not let these men win. Because our men are bigger. Okay. Trish. You okay? Yeah. I'm just nice and loud. Hey there. I just want to tell you, I'm from Austin, and these guys are just typical, ridiculous, little tiny penis boys who come out for all these stupid things. Like, I mean, really, come on. Get another habit. Get another thing to do, you idiots. They're real. Okay, so I'm just going to keep talking, and you guys, I know the people out there can hear me. Yeah, no penis. Oh. So anyway, good afternoon. Welcome to Austin. I have been here for 25 years, and I have lunched with women, and I have seen these women in our bars and all
around and they're just scared. They're just scared. Poor little boys. So I identify as a feminist, a mother, a wife, a daughter. I do not identify as a woman because I am a woman. And for those of you in the back, a woman is an adult human female. I also do, you guys are gonna be, I'm a card-carrying Democrat, liberal, crazy girl. And I believe that life begins at conception because that is a biological reality. That does not make me anti-choice or against bodily autonomy. In fact, I am pro-choice, liberal, veteran-supporting, left-leaning Democrat who is and always will be women and girls first. And I believe no one, especially men, has the right to tell me what to do with my body. It is mine and mine alone. Now, because of my belief in biological reality, because of science, because of my deepest respect for the female body and the female experience, that I am here today. That's why I'm here. I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that anyone, male or female, is born in the wrong body. I did a presentation once in college in a marketing class that was about in 1990. I got a 98, and my old white male professor told me it was one of the best and unique presentations he had ever seen. It was on the sexualization of women in advertising. This was before computers, so I had cut out pictures of advertisements from makeup, shoes, cigarettes, clothing, cars, household products, you name it. As I moved through the images, I spoke to each one. I noted how women were being sexualized in pictures by having their legs spread apart and positions laying down on the ground while men hover above them. How these images portrayed them as inferior objects put in humiliating positions. I have always spoken out against this, and now it should be no surprise that 30 years later I continue to do so. But never did I think that I would have to be fighting this hard 30 years later against the sexualization of girls and women through an ideology called trans. As a mother who for 5 years produced and created an event focused on the power of motherhood, I would be a hypocrite if I did not disagree with identity politics. And my belief has and always has been that women and girls are powerful and that we can not only take over the world, we can make it a better place. The trans ideology does not support this long-held belief. When men can claim our unique and beautiful femaleness and our experience of womanhood and motherhood as their own, they take away our accomplishments, safety, and they take away our power. This is all done in the name of inclusion. That I ask all of you, how is it inclusive if 50% of the population is excluded? I ask you these questions as I wrap up. What happens? What happened to our fight to raise up girls? To let girls be whoever they want to be, as is. What happened to so-called body positivity? Why are we affording surgeries and hormones to perfectly healthy kids when all we really need to be doing feminine, masculine, whatever they are, why are we affirming that they need to change based on stereotypes, stereotypes, and societal expectations? And finally, who is profiting off of all of this?
These very angry young men who I believe are taking men. These are like a tabulation. Okay, we're going to keep going because I'm going to say a trans woman. What is some old men? What they're saying is they like the idea of 13-year-old girls having double mastectomies at the altar of transgenderism. What these men are saying when they tell us all to go home is they're saying that they don't think women should come out in the public space and say that no,
That's right.
women don't have penises. No men in women's sports. No men in women's gyms.
Oh my God, I think that's right. So, I've been thinking a lot about the women's rights movement in the United States. In September of 1917, President of the White House, the president, to give up the right to see police arrested them, took them to DC jail. They didn't have room in there, so they sent them to a workhouse, underground workhouse in Fairfax, Virginia. They were beaten, they were tortured, they were given food with maggots in it. They could not get out. So, released in 1917, they knew what women were. Now we have men in women's jails with them. Now we have males in locker rooms with teenage girls. This is a record of my dissent. This is the sound of women saying no. 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 Women are just human females. They are not males. Inside their home. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Not intimidating women. That guy looks like 60. He knows what a woman is. Come and speak. Difficult to squeeze. You're a dreamer. My dad's been yours. My name is Michelle. I'm owning church. Trans exclusionary Republican female. I'm a mother, a wife, a daughter, and a sister. In order to be all these things, I've had to live through the unique and wonderful experience of being a female from the womb to now. This is the experience I wish for my daughters, minute. It isn't the makeup I put on or the clothes that I wear. It is a privilege I enjoy and a burden I carry, and can't be replicated by artificially achieving a hormone level or undergoing cosmetic surgery. My risk of being victimized by a man is not reduced by denying biological sex or removing sex-based protection. We live in unprecedented times in which speaking about the truth is considered violence and should beget physical violence in response, in which our young girls are being taught to show their instincts and their desire for self-preservation in favor of boys' feelings, in which our young girls are promised a better and less painful future if they change their pronouns and remove their healthy body parts. I do not consent. My daughters do not consent. My son will not be taught to ignore a girl's right to consent. I will teach my daughters that their womanhood is truly immutable and truly amazing. I will teach my son that his biological sex is equally amazing and also obligates him to protect and defend, not appropriate and violate. But today, on behalf of my daughters and my mother and every woman I know and love, I say no. No to males in our spaces. No to society perpetuating harmful lies. No to children being unwitting participants in validating adult issues. Leave us alone. Leave our kids alone. I call on the elected officials in these buildings surrounding us to be bold and stand with women. Stand for free speech. Stand with children's right to develop and have a future free from pain and irreparable harm. Stand for safety for girls and stand with truth.
Go, Michelle.
I must say, Michael Knowles let himself go. Right, who is actually next? You just let go. Whatever happened to laryngitis? I think we should bring that back. My name is Gabrielle Price, and I guarantee you can't be mad at me. I guarantee you can't be bigger than me. I guarantee you can't be more motivated than me. And look at this. These fucking clowns out here. There's no trans people out here. Who are they? What are they? They're nothing. I'm going to tell you something. There is no child born in a red body. Okay? That is a lie. That is a myth. Every child born is perfect as they are. If they are suffering from problems, we help them. We do not cut body parts off of them. They are people. They are our families. They are our children. I fight indoctrination in schools every day. You better go Google me, bitch. Google me, bitch. My name is Gabrielle Price, and I fight indoctrination every day. When they came for my kids, I pulled my brother out of that coat. You can pull your kids out of these coats. Forget these people. They cannot tell us who we are. I am a woman. Every single cell in my body, from my hair follicles to my toenails, is female. Every single one. And you can't stop us. And you can't tell us who we are. And you can't take our children. You can't have our society. You're weak. That's why you have to come and fight a bunch of women. Oh, man. Thank you so much. Well, I agree. I don't think anyone's coming, Adam. So thank you so much. That was well needed. It's literally a group of folks. There's Michael Moore's younger, less attractive brother over there. And then there's some boys that have just about escaped their mother's basement, and one of them looks like 45. So, okay. I want to know from these people when they talk about trans liberation, they literally mean they want men in women's lockerooms. Trans liberation means they want to cut off the body parts of our kids. Trans liberation means they want to give men access to women in prisons. It's no liberation. When these people talk about live and let live, they aren't talking about women. They're talking about men. Let men live and let live. Let men do what the hell they want. But women, we don't even get a voice, sometimes in our own movement. Now, conservative men, I'm really happy to have you on board. But this is our train. This is women's train. We are driving it. You are welcome to join in. But you are not welcome to drive. Okay, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Come on. Hello. I did not expect to say anything today, but I think it's a good opportunity to just let all of us know here and acknowledge the fact that we know that they know what they're doing. They don't care about trans people. They don't care about men. They don't care about women. They don't care about children. This is the perfect, most ingenious cover ever created to unleash their disgusting hatred of women out in a way that will get them applause, likes, sponsorships, partnerships, and invited to the White House. So we know what they're really saying, and it's about time they know that we know, because we can all save ourselves a lot of screaming. We're not scared by your chants and your words. They've lost all meaning. And ironically, all I've heard from these young men today is trans women are women. What about trans men? They seem to know who the men and who the women are by their distinct omission of protecting trans men, because they know that they're women and pose no threat. So, we all know what's going on. All of the empty slogans and chants, they're not effective anymore. So, let's just get it out in the open. You're not bothering us except for the noise level. That's it. We know, you know, we're all on the same page. Thank you. Oh, gosh. Jesus. You know, I'm an atheist, but sometimes I wish the moon would smite. Who else would like to speak? Come on. I'm going to pin this on you. It's just so people at home can hear it. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'd just like to take a second to personally thank every single woman out here that's over the age of 40. I have a serious belief that it's all of the older women doing all of the work, and y'all have already spent decades upon decades of being yelled over and trampled on and stomped on by men. This doesn't bother you because you've been doing it for 40 plus years already. I had my first experience as what it means to be a woman in America when I was 10 years old, being sexualized by my friend's uncle. That's not something I identified into. It's not something I opted. It's something that happened to me because of the body that I was born in. You can't identify your way into or out of oppression. It is impossible. And no matter what happens, more and more women are going to speak up, or men being let into their prisons, raping their women, impregnating them while they are incarcerated. They may not stand for it, and these groups are going to get larger and larger, no matter how hard you try to scream over us. All the white men in the fucking world, they're not quiet us. To be honest, I actually got the idea that anyone was over 40. Who else would like to speak? Come on, would you like to speak? Come on. We can move it to you if you wish. If I do it sideways, it won't slide. Shall I hold it? You're right. You're right. I'm going to pin this. I'm going to pin this on you. I've lost this little fluffy.
Okay.
All lives matter! All lives matter! Women's lives matter! Women's lives matter! Girls' lives matter! Girls' lives matter! Poor lives matter! Poor lives matter! I'm Marjorie. I came all the way from Dallas. Glad to be here. Glad the board is cooperating. They're more laws than men. They're all white males showing their white male privilege without shame. They did it a black lady right in front of my eyes. We are on our right side of history. And I appreciate everyone coming out. I appreciate all the women. I appreciate the male supporters. I appreciate everyone. And these false acts do not respect men. I'm a lifelong feminist, lifelong pro-choice, lifelong anti-war. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a right-winger. I have exited from Christianity. I'm a running religious traditionalism. I'm not some Trumpite. I did not vote for Trump. I did not vote for Abbott or any of these outfits. I'm not even voting at all because the Democrats are flattening themselves out for this gender ideology, which is mutilating little children before they're old enough to make a decision. That most women in prison are survivors of abuse. That's why they committed crimes. They need to be kept safe from rapes by men. They can put on womanhood like a dress. That's not how it works. Every cell in my body has 2 X chromosomes. That is unchangeable. I was a tomboy. I still am non-conforming. I don't wear makeup. I don't wear a bra. I'm not more than a little body. I'm not a man. Wearing a bra does not make me a woman. Having 2 X chromosomes does. Shame on these false sex. Shame on them. I appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you. For me, works a dream. No, this is going to sound prejudiced against you Americans, but you really don't say fuck off very well. It just sounds so much better with a proper English accent. Especially if you're looking like a ex-meth Michael Moore. I wish you could see their faces because we know that they aren't even legends in their own households. Very, very angry. These men are really angry. I guess if I cared enough, I'd ask why. What has made these men so angry? Maybe they can't get a decent job. I would doubt if they could. Not everyone can be on YouTube. Maybe they just feel disenfranchised. Maybe they've been given a ticket out of being so mediocre. And they can find a nice little outlet for their misogyny
Well, not today, boys. Okay, so just to remind you. Right, let me remind you. No woman has a penis. No man has a vagina. Men cannot give birth. No one with a penis can be a lesbian. No one's gonna date you. And there is no such thing as a trans child. It is language to enable the most profound, despicable, disgusting, bodily autonomy abuse against children. In the United States of America, you will take the breasts of a 13-year-old girl if she says she's a boy. If you don't believe me, phone your local gender clinic or hospital. They will sterilize your children. As soon as that child says I'm trans, they're on a road to being neutered, to being sterilized, to having their fertility taken and their sexual function stolen. This is not something we're making up. If you don't believe us, go and look it up. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm going to guess these men have no idea, but sex as an adult is actually quite nice. Only the most abusive virginal men would insist that they can steal the sexual function of children, meaning they can never have an intimate relationship with adults. Or, and here's a theory, that they want to keep children like children. That they're pedophiles, and they want access to children even when they're old enough to consent. Okay, groomer. So, you might say pedophile, and I might have got lost in translation. So, my view is that men like, especially him with the Antifa flag, they are basically pedophiles who want to see children's bodies mutilated. They want children to be made infertile. They want to steal their sexual function. Look at the state of them. Now, Michael Moore, after meth. Okay, who's next? Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? You know what these men want? You know what these men want? These men want access to female spaces. These men want to have access to our daughters' changing rooms. These men want access to our daughters' bodies. These men want access to female sports. These men hate women. These men hate women. This trans ideology is a movement based on hate. Hate for women. They hate women. Look at their hate. Look how much they hate us. Look how much they hate us. Oh my goodness. Look at your hate. Look at your hate. Oh my. Wow. Bunch of white men killing women. Yeah. You wish. So, trans liberation means these men want to give any man access to female changing rooms. They want to give every man access to female sports. They have no respect for women. I am a woman. I am a woman. I am a mother. I am a daughter. I am a daughter. I am a sister.
language. They want our language. You want our language. And you know what? They can't have it. They can't have it. Women say no. Women say no. You can't have it. You can't have it. You know what they want? They want our history. They want to rewrite women's history. And you know what? Women say no. Women say no. They want access to everything we have built and fought for as women. They want to destroy it. These are men who hate women. I want you to see, this is the face of trans activism. These are the faces of trans activism. Men who hate women. Okay, Americans, we're going to wrap up now. The midterms are coming up. If you don't use your vote, at least use your voice. If you feel that now is not the time to flip party or tell me that if you feel nobody stands for you, that's fine. But go along to the meetings and tell your representatives why you've decided not to vote or why you've decided to switch. For those of you that have just joined, let me tell you, these men, they want to endorse the double mastectomies of 13-year-old girls who say they're boys. In your children's schools in Texas, they will be teaching those kids that they can choose their biological sex. Those men behind me, they get off on that idea. Those men behind me are happy that we've got male rapists in women's prisons. But in American prisons right now, they give out condoms in the women's prisons because there are so many men who sex offended in prison with women serving time. There are men up and down the country pretending to be women in your domestic violence shelters, in your refuges. They are taking low oppression points away from people genuinely needing a leg up. Michael Moore's brother on meth behind. What he wants is he wants to sterilize children. That's what he's talking about. So, if you value the women around you, if you think, God, no, women don't have penises, or my elderly parent, or my young daughter, or my wife, or my sister deserve space away from men when they're in a state of undress, when they feel vulnerable, if they've been attacked, if you feel at any point that women deserve space away from men, then you have to let your electorate know. You have to let your representatives know. Because right now, the fascists shouting behind me, they're trying to pretend that as an act of love, they want men in women's faces. And an act of kindness, they want to mutilate the bodies of children. We have absolutely had enough. More and more women are beginning to speak up. And so far, some of us have paid some hefty prices. I heard his voice hurts. So, look, if you can focus on the task at hand and not be distracted, it's fuck off. Right. If you cannot be distracted by men that wish to silence you, then I promise we will win. If you can ensure you want to protect the bodily autonomy of children, and you do not consent to their bodies being broken, irreparably damaged, then I promise we will win. If you can find your courage and you can speak with conviction, I promise we will win. And you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose. Go and find a wife, one with a penis.
All right.
It's okay to be gay. If you want to date someone with a penis, they don't need to be a woman. Thank you so much to all of you that came out. Special thanks to Trish and Michelle, the organising team. It was amazing. Thank you for coming, Megan. Right, and that's it. Let's find a bar, maybe.
Good idea. Thanks for oh yeah.
Okay, well, we'll keep those ladies on in the background. Thank you, all of our ladies, for streaming. How am I going to do this? I'm going to remove that so we can be. Oh, I'm going to remove that. We can add that. Oh, I see. But let's make this. Wait. Let's make this. How do I?
So yes, the next event is Chicago. That's going to be tomorrow, Sunday in Chicago, 1 p.m. their time.
All right. I was just flipping around with the view, is trying to see if we could just, if we'll just, we'll just chat here as we watch them closing up. We'll just keep this open. So we want to thank everyone. I have some ladies. I'm going to try and find out who they were. I had some on the ground ladies catching background footage. I really appreciate them. We used some of Rev Fox's footage again today for this stream party. And I know sound is the biggest issue all the time. We always know this. So this is one of the things that we are fundraising for. I know that Strange Casio is in the house right now. She had the most excellent sound in LA. That was one of the things I have purchased with some of your previous donations. I've purchased some equipment to have at our future events. There is still some equipment that we need for future events to ensure that we do have excellent sound. It is, as you all know, it is the absolute biggest issue for these watch parties, and it is our aim, it is our absolute aim to provide excellent sound for you all, and we want us all to be able to participate in a really fun way. So thank you for all of that. So we do have Chicago coming up tomorrow. So tomorrow you're having another event coming up in Chicago. We do know. I believe we're going to do a sound check later this afternoon, but our expectation is that sound will hopefully be pretty good in Chicago. So we're going to have that for you. And I think what we're going to do, we're going to bring back and Kay Yang, you can say anything you want, but I think we'll put on the banner for having some live call-ins before we go, just so we can get anyone's feedback. Let me get that up. You can say something.
In regards to the fundraising, I want everyone to know that the women on the ground in different cities are organizing these events at a grassroots level. We are regular, everyday women all over the country. Some of them in this chat have stepped up to take on all the work that goes into putting on something like this, and also putting themselves in a vulnerable position, because we understand the threat of violence against women is very real. We saw this in Portland the other day with our guest Carmen May, who is still here in the studio with us behind scenes. Our guest Carmen May, who was pied in the face and assaulted in Portland, along with Gina Hoach and Rachel Gebhardt, Holly Hart, a number of women that you might recognize. The day after that in Tacoma, the founder of Sovereign Women Speak, April Morrow, she had her 2 fingers broken. So everybody be thinking of April for her speedy recovery. We also saw a number of different attacks and assaults at that event. Some of them will be showing on other live streams. And you saw our host, Amy Sousa herself, in an amazing act of bravery and in a very heroic situation. She moved in to push away a violent male who was trying to attack Lear Keith. And I want to share some of the footage from that because this actually did make it to mainstream media. As we know, we are getting no coverage from the mainstream. It's very hard for them to cover anything. We do have something here that was on Fox News yesterday. Kelly was interviewed, and I want to show just a clip of that.
All right, go ahead and put that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's overtly populated by quite misogynist, violent men, but also there's a lot of young women singing their praises and being really, really hateful. But the violence often comes from men, and April got her fingers crushed by a man's bare hands. You know, he literally got her hand in his and crushed it and broke her fingers.
Oh my gosh. So you're standing up for the rights of biological women and we're attacked by some men. That sounds like we're going backwards here. Are you getting any support from anybody in Hollywood or any feminists in Washington, D.C.?
Well, feminists have been working really hard. I've got to be fair, like radical feminists have been working really hard against this for decades, completely ignored and unnoticed. So yes, we do get support from feminists. I'm a women's rights campaigner, not a feminist myself. But Hollywood, no. They're totally pushing this dishonest narrative that anybody can choose their biological sex.
Yeah, well, so...
Okay, so you just saw Amy Sousa, our host here, the known heretic. You just saw her stepped in this courageous act that it's so awesome. They played it over and over again because I have to say this is, it feels good. It feels good to see us not backing down, to see us in a position of taking up space out on the street in public like women deserve to be, just like anyone else in society, as equal members, just like everyone else, having a free voice. This is what we need. And Amy did not hesitate. I don't even think she had time to hesitate because when you're in a situation like this, your instincts kick in. And as you know, Amy talked so much about how important it is to listen to our instincts.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Thank you. Thank you, Kay. That is what happened. It was one of those moments. And I always talk about this when I mention Gavin de Becker. What he says is in those moments that's a moment that is happening in that basal ganglia part of the brain. It's an instinct. It's something that takes over. It's not, I didn't stand around thinking. I wasn't in my conceptual prefrontal cortex thinking, what should I do? Should I do this or that? And he talks about how that part of the brain that's making judgments for us is plotting, and it's much slower, whereas that instinctual level of the brain is much quicker. And so my body really took over and stepped in, and our amazing first speaker, Lear Keith, founder of Wolf, was speaking, and I saw a man coming at her from behind, and I responded. And I think, frankly, if someone had asked me, would you have stepped into a moment to defend someone? I think I would have said, I don't know, because I wouldn't have known what I would have done. I would like to think that is something that I would do, but I didn't know that is something that I would do until it happened. And I simply responded in the moment to what was happening, just on that guttural, instinctual level. And I think this is, of course, part of what I always say. We need to trust our instincts. We need to trust our sense perceptions. Even though this person is wearing a skirt, this man is wearing a skirt, I understood this was a man coming to attack a woman from behind, P.S., from behind in broad daylight. So this was just absolutely insane.
And when you slow down that footage, you can actually see that Rachel and her daughter Amelia were in the background and had to again run out of the way. And this should not be happening. These are public spaces where women and children should be able to walk and exist and speak freely, just like anyone else. So this is, again, happening in broad daylight. This is happening in front of law enforcement. And at that point, when they stand down and do nothing, this does move into the realm of state-sanctioned violence.
Yeah.
This is not okay.
Yeah, it is not. I want to move into the mode of getting some calls from some call-ins. So if anyone wants to call in and add your thoughts and add your voice, this is an opportunity for all of us to have free speech. Even those of us who were not, those of you who are not able to travel, or us who are not able to travel today to the event. So please come in. It looks like Carmen wants to share something with us as well. Carmen, you're in the chat, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that watching this and reading the comments, so I always kind of thought that the reason, what we've obviously noticed is that these men are attacking women. They're not attacking people like Matt Walsh as much. They're just not, they're not attacking, including left-wing men who are also either right-wing or left-wing men that are standing up. They're attacking women, whether right-wing or left-wing women, but particularly left-wing women they're attacking. And so we thought it was because, you know, they don't like hearing the word no from women, and that's definitely an aspect. But what I've realized too is that it's because actually it is left-wing feminist women who are saying no, who are going to be the ones who will take this thing down. They realize that our analysis is something that they cannot counter. And so that is why they're reacting with violence. That's why they don't care about the violent men that beat up trans people. They don't go after violent men who caused the problem. They go after women who are asking for a conversation, because we are the ones that might actually bring this whole house of cards tumbling down.
Mm-hmm. And Carmen, earlier when you were speaking, and for those who are just joining us, this is Carmen May. She's our special guest. She was on the ground in Portland the other day at a women's free speech event with a group of women there when they were ambushed by, I think, 4 or 5. How many was it, Carmen? Was it 5?
It was 4. Again, I don't actually know. It's either 4 or 5. Yes, possibly 5.
Trans rights activists ran up, ambushed the group of women as Carmen was actually speaking specifically about incarcerated women and women in rape crisis shelters who are being forced to share space with violent male rapists who are raping and impregnating them. As Carmen was speaking about this, the group of women were ambushed in broad daylight. They had pies thrown into their faces. Pies, as we know, have to do with fetishes. As Carmen mentioned earlier, it is an act of humiliation and subordination. And when they put the pies in these women's faces and on their bodies, these were not just, it wasn't just a joke. It was also a physical assault disguised blows to their faces and bodies under whipped cream. This is Carmen May. And earlier you were mentioning, Carmen, that this is a lot of the violence that we see as a form of backlash against women and against the rights that we have gained in society and socially. And could you speak a little bit more about that? I'm holding up Susan Faludi's book, Backlash: The Undeclared War Against American Women. So do you have any thoughts more about this, Carmen, the backlash that we're experiencing?
Absolutely. It's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. These things are cyclical, right? So there'll be a movement for women, and then there's a backlash. This is really common. This is a very interesting backlash because it's a backlash that's trying to take away women's spaces and women's safety. That's coming directly on the heels of Me Too. And it's coming in disguise of a civil rights movement, and in fact, in the disguise of feminism itself. And women are some of the biggest supporters of this. Women often don't have our own, I mean, We experience a kind of indoctrination growing up in this society that we tend to center men's desires and feelings over women's needs. So their wants, men's wants over women's needs. And this is what is happening here in this backlash. That is basically trying to, at the moment where we have the highest violence against women in our Western Anglosphere at this moment that we have had in the last 30 years, at this
all around the world.
All around the world, and it's going up. I mean, so people tend to think that in developed nations we've won our rights and it's over. I see so many people saying that in the comments. When you saw me getting pied, there were people saying women won their rights and it's over, which is just such a cognitive dissonance. Like, looking at that, how can you say that? Obviously, police didn't even come. So yeah, there are people who think that, right? But what's actually happening is that we just lost all of our Title IX rights. All of them. Title IX has been gutted. Title IX used to be for sex-based protections. Now it's actually protection for any man who wants to declare himself a woman and identify his way into women's private spaces where he can see women undressing. That's now what it's protecting. Or if he wants to win on a women's sports team, that's what it's now protecting, right? So Title IX has been absolutely gutted. That was done by the Democrats.
And a lot of people don't even realize that. I think that's another thing that we're dealing with, is people still think that Title IX protects women and girls. And as you just described, and as we know, it does not.
Well, it is specifically being used against women and girls now. The girls in Vermont who objected to boys coming into their locker rooms, 3 girls were suspended from school, and they may be under charges for sexual harassment because they objected. All right, we're going to take this call. All right. Here we go.
Call from Jeanette.
Jeanette, welcome. How are you?
Stop calling me, Jeanette.
You are on live with Amy Sousa and Kay Yang, and Carmen May is in the house. And this is Jeanette, who is organizing Chicago, everyone.
This is Jeanette Cooper, the co-founder of Partners for Ethical Care.
Yes, we're excited about Chicago. The weather is going to be mediocre because we're coming on winter, so sorry about that. But the women are going to be beautiful and intelligent as always, so we should be set for tomorrow.
Okay.
Amazing.
Is there anything else that we should know about the events that you have planned? We were given a tip that there was security today, and we were given a tip that there was also going to be security in Chicago.
Yes, ma'am. We feel very confident about the safety of women in Chicago. We're in the Midwest. We've done many events, actually, so we're pretty well trained on intercepting kind of anything that happens ourselves. So we have quite a bit of experience doing that. We operate kind of in a band of sisterhood model, so we don't leave any woman alone. We generally have all kinds of ways to intercept and make sure that women are kept safe. So we feel very confident, and we're going to focus on, I think our speeches, hopefully, as we hear women speak up, they're going to, kind of focus on women, actually.
Great.
Focus on the things that we're doing. And me particularly, I'm interested in stating what is the obvious, which is we're winning.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious that we are. So we are claiming our space, and there's no reason why we need to be on defense, actually. We have claimed our space, and that is what is upsetting to people, is that we already are winning.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that, and I really am so encouraged and proud of the organizing that women in the United States have been doing to help this tour happen and put it together in such a professional and polished way. I'm really impressed with the on the ground grassroots pulling it together by the seat of our pants work work that is happening. I just couldn't be more proud of what is going on right now. And I know that already I am in about 3 different chats right now with women who are getting ready to organize events after this tour is finished. So this is inspiring so many new women to do on the ground events. It's just, I'm just amazed.
And we're so glad to have you here, Jeanette. For those that don't know, and you're just being introduced to Jeanette, this is Jeanette Cooper. She is a co-founder of Partners for Ethical Care, PEC, and they are my go-to group for parents and children on this issue. I really support the work that they do because they assert that, one, no child is born in the wrong body, and also all of this is completely duplicitous. They do not believe that trans is real. They validate biological material reality and the 2 sexes. And Jeanette, please tell us more about your work with PEC.
Yeah, so we focus on 2 things: raising awareness about this issue and abolishing this affirmation model, this affirming a falsehood. We won't do that. We will simply state what is the truth, which is there are boys and girls who grow up to become men and women. And the second thing that we're interested is in supporting efforts that are kind of going against this affirmation model. That means that we show up in legislative hearings. We do support people to go to those hearings. So yes, I can state that we have paid for travel arrangements for detransitioners to show up at hearings, because the fact is that if you want somebody to speak, it actually costs real money to get them to a place where they can share for 3 minutes, and it really makes a difference. The system that we have in terms of government is imperfect. That doesn't mean we abandon it. That means that we participate more and we claim it for ourselves because it is ours. So that's why we show up. The other thing that we're working on, and you know, it's moving along, is a website that we manage and connections that we manage called transitionjustice.org. So what we do is we have people who have been harmed by gender medicine, so-called gender medicine. They contact us. We try, our philosophy is that we want to make sure that those individuals have support. And that means a bunch of different kind of things in their lives, a web of support, if you will. And then we try to connect them to an attorney who will be able to take their case to figure out, is this a viable case? Is this something that we can pursue? Medical malpractice, child abuse, sexual abuse, however. So that's a project that we've started. There are attorneys that contacted us, and we're in the business of connecting people with resources, ways that they can then use their skills to take down the gender industry.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. We're so grateful for the work that you do, Jeanette, and all of the people, the members of PEC, the volunteers that work with you. It takes a lot of people to make all of this happen. It takes a lot of money to make this happen. Visit partnersforethicalcare.com. You can support them. You can find out the many ways that you can support them, how you can get connected. If you know a parent who is struggling with their children or their child, you can reach out to Partners for Ethical Care, direct people to them. On the screen now is an image of Jeanette Cooper. She was one of the speakers at the Courage Calls to Courage event held in Madison, Wisconsin at the public library, another free speech event where we were completely overrun by violent, misogynistic men. Jeanette, do you want to speak at all about any of the other demonstrating and free speech that you've been involved in around the country?
Oh, geez, when do I not speak up? I mean,
all the time.
I think of it more, not so much as an event, but a way of daily living. I mean, radical feminism in general is integrated into my life, and I center women. And that is the way that I live my radical feminism. But in the way that I kind of approach and try to destroy this gender industry is every single human being that I interact with will hear about the harms that are happening to children, whether I go to the bank, the grocery store, or I talk to the person who is, picking up the trash or delivering the mail. It has to be integrated into everything that we're doing, because it's an opportunity to talk to a human being who may be unaware, and that's doing the awareness work of Partners for Ethical Care. I know that everyone thinks that we're a well-funded right-wing hate group. Unfortunately, I do the accounting, and that's simply not true.
That's right.
None of those things are true. So the way that we have to do it is the way that we have done it for centuries, which is the unpaid labor of women. It would be super nice if we could get actual money to pay for things that we really need, such as sound equipment, which you mentioned earlier. Security actually costs money, and women are fronting that money. So if you hear that women are doing these things, yes, it's important to put your money in places that you know good work is happening. If you're concerned about the label on your clothing and whether it's fair trade, you certainly should be concerned that your money is going toward the work of women and preventing the harm to children.
Absolutely. Well, Jeanette, thank you so much for coming. And I'm gonna, after I'm done with this live chat, I'm gonna call you and connect with you so we can do a sound check. So we'll let you go for now so we can take another caller.
I'm sitting in my car right now, and I have actually all the equipment right here with me. So I'm gonna sit right here on a side street in Chicago, and we're gonna have some good time.
All right, we're gonna talk to you very soon. All right, thank you so much, Jeanette.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. I appreciate it, both of you.
Thanks, Jeanette. I have also recruited Jeanette to come to New York City to stand with myself and other women there on the 14th of November. We are working to fundraise now to cover costs, as you heard, for equipment, but also, most importantly, security. As you've seen in the past couple of days, women are in danger when we are coming out trying to speak on the street, and we are inviting women to these events. We don't want them to get hurt. We understand that when we come out into public, we are taking a risk, but we do everything in our power to try to keep ourselves and women safe, because that is important. So right now, money for security, I am taking that out of my own pocket to make sure that we have it. So please donate so that myself and Amy and other women don't have to incur all of the costs on our own, because we have literally been working. Amy and myself have been working round the clock since since Kelly announced her tour, since we got word on where the cities were going to be. We have been behind the scenes just talking literally night and day with women, working in meetings, like so many phone calls, messages, emails. My voice is going hoarse. So please, if you're out there and you can't come to one of these events and you're looking for a way to be involved and support women on the ground, please help us with raising money for security, because we actually need it. And right now we're waiting for a call in, or do we have someone, Amy?
Yeah, well, I saw that I missed a call from Dragon Kittigan, so you can call again if you want. I put the number up there. Thank you so much. I was gonna say salnitiated, but salniated. Thank you so much, from New Zealand, no less. My God.
Thank you, sister.
We appreciate it so much.
And this is exactly what we need, solidarity.
Okay. Let me call you. I'm going to call you if you can't call me, because I can call you. Hold on. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I can call.
Okay, up on the screen is an image from the United Nations protest back in March in New York City that myself and along with Amy Sousa organized, and there was just a powerhouse of women there. Jeanette Cooper and Jennifer, both co-founders of PEC, were there with us. Isabella Malbin was there. She was one of the organizers today in Austin for the speakers event. She is an incredible sister in this movement. And I actually do want to take a moment to highlight Isabella at the Texas Mall. I'll leave that up and let you know, Isabella is in the birth working world. She is a sovereign woman, and she is, She's a passionate birth worker and podcaster, and she's the host of the Whose Body Is It podcast. So if you haven't checked that out yet,
hello, is this Dragon Kid again?
It is. Let me turn down the television.
Okay. Welcome. It's so great to hear your voice. Thank you, Yolanda, so much. We appreciate you so much. And
it's Yolanda.
No, it's Yolanda just gave support, but Dragon Kid again is on the phone.
Thank you
so much. Hi.
I hear myself echoing.
Okay, I'm going to go into another room here. So that, oh my gosh, I'm actually speaking to wonderful, wonderful TERFs from all over the world. I can't believe it.
Yay, this is awesome.
I'm so impressed by all of you.
Welcome.
I am just so impressed by all of you, and I want to thank you so much, because as a detransitioner, I have been alone in this for 10 years, losing friends one by one and secretly detransitioning. And it was only up until last fall that I actually was able to say to another woman, I am a woman, and I reclaimed my womanhood. And it felt weird, but can I be vain and ask you, do I sound female still?
Yes, you do. I could tell you were a woman right away.
Oh, that's awesome, because I had been on testosterone for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm really concerned for these younger women, because they've taken it for such a short amount of time, and yet their voices deepen very rapidly. Their hair falls out. I mean, I'm very lucky, despite what I did to my body and the damage I did. I consider myself extremely lucky, because I have most of my hair. As you say, I still sound female. I can still hit almost all the notes to Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill.
Ah, that's the most important thing.
So I really feel for Kat Kattinson. I imagine it must be really difficult for her.
I think they're making those drugs. I think the drugs that they're making are stronger and stronger. I mean, I think they're amping up the effects on what they're giving out currently.
I'm terrified, because if I had been the age of any of these young women taking even puberty blockers, I know for a fact that my mother would have marched me right into the doctor's office. I mean, she would have been a Jeanette, a Jeanette of those days, and taken me right in on the puberty blockers, because she wanted a boy. And I looked like a boy, and so it.
Dragon, can you tell us how old you were when you?
It got a hold of me as an adult, so I can't imagine how we're going to reframe this for children, because they actually believe that we hate them.
Yeah.
And that terrifies them. We're doing this out of love and concern. And they actually believe, because they're trained to believe by these teachers who seek them out as validation dolls. I mean, teachers are there to teach, not to be validated by their students. And they're teaching them the wrong things about biology. How can, they come out believing that there's actually more than two sexes. They come out believing that we actually hate them, and that needs to be changed. So we need to create stories to counter these awful books they're introducing into schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. My sister actually just told me, she just called me yesterday. She said she picked up a Newbery award-winning book. She saw, oh, it's a new Newbery book. She picked it up. She brought it home. It was all about the ideology. And she, oops. And I'm gonna call you right back, Cheryl, if that's you. I'm gonna finish this call and I'll call you right back. But anyway, it was a Newbery Award winner, which is why she bought it. And luckily she read the back, and she's actually going to send it to me so I can just read it for research. But she was absolutely not about to give that to her kids. And she couldn't believe that it was recommended by, you know, this known award system that recommends children's books. And I, of course, I had a hard time explaining to her that this is for a purpose. This is propaganda. This is how they are spreading their message. This is controlled. It's not just because the book is a well-written book. It's on purpose to disseminate this message and spread it to kids.
Yeah. It's really hard to explain to these people without overwhelming them and without seeing the reflection in their eyes of the tinfoil hat on my head that I think that they see. You know, like I look in their eyes and I feel like I see a reflection of a tinfoil hat on my head. But it's like, you know, no, this is real. I'm not Chicken Little. We're not crying wolf. And this is probably the most it's the most vile medical malpractice that's ever come to be. Worse than lobotomy, worse than thalidomide. We're going to have a generation of hundreds of thousands of sterile children, sterile adults who will never experience sexual satisfaction. Yeah. And I think that is very narcissistic and greedy of adults to rob children of their childhood and rob children of an adulthood that we all experienced. And yet we're fine to rob that from children. Anyway, I don't want to take up all your time. I know many people want to speak to you.
Can I respond before you?
All the work that you all do. Love you all. In spite of anybody's differences, I will critique bad behavior, but I will never stand in the way of someone who is fighting this ideology, no matter left, right, center. This is the most important thing right now and needs to be taken care of before we can get to the real work at hand, like helping women in Iran.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Can I say something really quick before she goes?
Thanks, Dragon. Love you too.
Oh, thank you so much, Dragon. You are amazing. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story with us. Before you go, Carmen wants to say something.
First of all, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for your powerful testimony. I'm so sorry for what happened to you. Yeah. Regarding what you were saying about teachers, I'm a longtime educator. I happen to know that so many teachers are leaving the profession because of this. Some people, which is very sad because we actually need to have gender critical teachers.
Yes,
we need them to be giving this, you know. But what I would like to say as an educator is I'm a feminist. I'm a radical feminist. And I would never teach radical feminism as fact in school, ever. There is no place for ideology in school. I would teach it, but I would also provide a number of different viewpoints and encourage my students to think critically. And this is something I believe in. So there is no place for teaching ideology as fact whatsoever. And this is where there is a separation of church and state. This is a religious doctrine that has made its way into the schools.
100% agree with you, sister.
Yeah, thank you so much again, Dragon Kitty. We'll see you in the chats.
Thanks, Dragon. I always see you in there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking my call, women. Love you, sister.
So great to hear your voice.
Bye. Okay, I'm gonna give. Hold on. Wait, how do I do that? Hold on. I need to actually.
So I want to highlight the comment that's on the screen. Way more girls have been given Lupron for painful periods than to transition them. Too bad medical misogyny isn't the hot button cultural issue that transition is. Though I would say, quote, transition, as they call it, is medical misogyny, because this is an attack on gender non-conforming women, as we know, and lesbians. So it is medical misogyny, especially targeting young girls.
Hey, Charlie, we just got a call from you. You're on live with Amy and Kay Yang.
Hi, Charlie.
And Carmen. Sorry, Carmen. Charlie, you there?
Hi, yeah. Good to see you, Amy and Kay. I'm sorry, Kay Yang.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you today?
I saw you at the prisons, and Amy, we liked your block yesterday. We're all very impressed, and we'll hire you.
Yeah, good. I'm very strong.
She's security now.
We needed better security yesterday too.
Yeah, we really did. Well, this is security is a big issue, and unfortunately, we are seeing more and more that is something that's needed. Where certain women have been able to. I know that Jeanette paid with her own funds. She put up her own funds for security. Not some women in some cities can do that. Other women can't. We are trying to raise.
I also can't, but I'm doing it anyways because we need it. And I'm not going to invite women to come and meet me in New York and not have some way to protect them.
Yeah, Kay Yang is putting up her own money.
That was my, we pivoted really quick to Tacoma. When I worked in theater, I'm a dingling. I'm not a bouncer. I'm a talker. But we had 5 security on headphones. They had one had a direct connection to the person on stage, the MC. They were on all corners. They were plainclothes. They were volunteers. I've never gone into a public situation for a few years, like the Tacoma event, for a few reasons. When I arrived, my compatriot Ren, who was the woman who walked out with April at the end after our whole group had left ahead of us, we didn't have a good exit strategy. We saw the logistics when we drove up, but I was helpless to rearrange the logistics. I should have gone the day before. I learned that was beautiful to me. The most beautiful thing, I want to share this because April was cared for by many people and picking up the phone, but Ren, who you see in the Tacoma News Tribune video, when you catch a sight of Ren with her bright orange plaid, orangey jacket, once she put her hands on April and embraced her and put a support under her elbow, I said, she's going into shock, let's move. I started moving fast. My car's across the street. I thought I can go get my car and bring it to the corner. Rachel, they're moving slowly, but then I stopped, and in the newsreel on the Tacoma News Tribune, in their paper, 10 minutes into the video, I see myself on the top right of the screen in my purple coat. That was a gift. I'm not posh, but I wore it for its suffragette color. And you see me come back I got to the edge of the sidewalk and I go, where's Ren and April? Because Ren had not left her body. We need a protocol for these kind of things. But anyway, it worked out beautifully. But I want to point out in that picture, when you see Ren sheltering her, I look back and I go, oh shit, they're getting all around her. The mob had started to engulf. Dawn Land is there. I forget who else. My total concern was get back to the mob, pull them out. So I went, but it was Ren who had held, as a healing person, she was holding that calm, vigilant space, and all of her attention. When you see, from the moment Ren got her hands on April, and of course then we walked out after this, I'm skipping a few steps, Ren held that healing space of calm, and I see it in my mind as a poet, as a visual artist who doesn't paint. I saw a moment where I saw I'm an atheist, but I looked at Bibles and I saw this beautiful moment of stillness that Ren held around April. So I noticed that it's like we're being hounded out. And I also tell Ren, in the future, you and I will practice a mountaineer rescue. I've been trained in two-person carry. You and I could make a wheelchair with our hands. She's light. We could have whisked her out of there. So that is another point in security. And so many things wonderful worked out in strange ways.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing all of that up and speaking about this, because it is very important that when we go into spaces like this, we have a protocol, and that everyone has that is entering the space together knows who each other are. Each person has a buddy and works in pairs, that you are watching someone's back, someone is watching your back at all times. These are basic things that should be being done at protests. And right now, we've got a lot of women who are coming into all of this, who are maybe possibly new to protest spaces, or even myself. I'm not new to any of this at all, as a number of women aren't in this movement. I've been doing this for over 20 years, but the level of violence and misogyny that we see with these counter protesters, I've never seen anything like it at any of the protester demonstrations I've been to, and it's literally hundreds. I've never seen this type of abuse take place in broad daylight. So we do need to be
quite organized. If you go back and watch the footage, we see these men have earpieces. They are communicating with each other. They had strategies. The guy that tried to attack Lier, if you look at the picture, he is wearing reinforced gloves. They are technically like brass knuckles. That's why I have bruising on my chest where he pushed into me with his hands. So you know, these men are coming
You are a good
armed.
block. You're a good blocker. We all, you know, you are a reactor. Some women, it is natural, are freezers. Some of us, like you can react. You did such an instinctive block for her. It scares me how she could have been thrown up into the air, you know, if you had not blocked. And that is fall your head on the cement. And also the whole disruption and the chaos that ensues. So that was a moment that just gives us all, I think you've seen a lot of feedback that was skillful, cat-like, but that another thing, that energetically, to see that, I'm talking as a healing woman. Now I'm coming out, energy healing, astrology. I have a wide background. What I saw you do was such a brilliant body block, and it was so instinctual, and we have that in us too. I fought against an assailant, but I don't necessarily like to know I'm a fighter. It came out. I thought I was peace and love, baby. I wouldn't fight if I was even threatened with my life. I'm a pacifist. I'm a conscientious objector, and I learned I'm not, but not all women react. I used to teach self-defense. I don't know what you've done, Amy, but I also taught self-defense to preschoolers and other women and friends. Simple techniques. I think I could do it on a Zoom, or there's other people who are doing it. I did it with Feminist Karate Union. They still exist, although their founder is ill and not involved, that I knew, but I'm saying that there's such a need, and you did something. I don't know what sort of self-defense you've had, but that was a self-defense. And what we need is greater self-defense, all of us. Our strategy, our logistics, our security, I am now really a white lightning rod in my hometown of Tacoma. After going to the board, there's been a little bit of, my brother is in with the school board, and now he has been, the day before the school board, my own brother, I'm being very private, was so it's for me to go and speak about my rights at the board meeting, and afterward, I got somebody got to him and said the board sees this as Cheryl Engel is being used by a UK woman who is on Fox News, and she's a lightning rod that brought all of the crazies on us. So Cheryl, don't bring the crazies on us. We've got enough. So it's interesting. I hear that message, and with a healing energy, all this chaos, we have to be better at self-defense. And That's a really good thing. So that's just, and then I want to say personally, a little bit of self-defense training. It's easy to break out of holds and just practice a few times. So you've got your natural instinct, if you're a kicker, to kick or fight, whatever. And the people who are really uncomfortable might give them an option or two before they get dragged in a car at some point. So very simple skills, do it in an hour. I would do it. And then also I get involved in events. I also, in all of my group work, I have gone to boards with fundraising. I'm old, and I've never walked in a board meeting where I had no time. I didn't research all these people. When I saw 5 board members there, I saw 2 board members excuse themselves before the meeting began.
Wow.
Only 3 members stayed. They called that a quorum, of course. But what I learned after the meeting is one of the board directors is a trans mother.
Yeah.
And what I believe I saw, I don't put it together, is the one guy said, hey, come on back here. They went to a private room behind the board meeting, behind the tribal flag, behind the red curtains, and he escorted her, and they probably watched from behind with other staff and, and in horror and shock. So I also, as a person, I am not a woman who can do bouncer. I'm not a woman who can do technology. I use technology since 1983. I am a talker. I'm a fast talker, and I connect people. But I'm also, they know all my nonprofits I work with, I lose track of, I'm not put in charge at an event because I'm a people person, and there's people high targets. Or if I went to this event again, I would have prepped on the boards. I would have known the lawyer is just a queer proponent Black man. I felt so stupid in my own professionalism. But we learned a lot, didn't we? Amy, you were just excited, people, that energetic of seeing that breaks through I am really, a more of a spiritual healing writer, kind of poet woman. So I'm not really in my element in politics, and we
love all of that too. We're that woman as well. Just we don't get to be her enough because we have to do this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, exactly. I know. I love seeing you at the prison. I love seeing Amy, and I love what's happening. So what would you like to know? I didn't mean to go on the Cheryl show.
That was perfect, Cheryl. Thank you so much. I just wanted to underscore what you were saying. Here's the thing, women, that we have to remember. Many of us are in this movement because of the trauma that we have faced. We are specifically here because this hits our trigger points. This is, Cheryl, probably you know this term. This is the wounded healer in us. This is part of our Chiron. So it hits that trigger point. And the thing for me, and this is what I try to underscore in my work that I do. This is the workshops that I do. This is the courses that I do.
Yes. Depth psychology, baby.
Depth psychology. This is the embodiment. This is trusting the instincts. This is listening to sense perceptions. This is why I talk about Gavin DeBecker all the time, because I was not there. It has taken me work to be here. I was after my trauma, I was in a dissociated state. I would not have been able to do what I did in Tacoma. I would not have been able to do that, 5 years ago. I had to do a lot of personal work to be in my body, to reconnect with my body and be in my power so that I could be in my instincts. Because here's the thing, and this is what I'm always saying, when we are dissociated from our instincts, we are not in a place where we can trust our body. When we're dissociated from our body, we're not in a place where we can trust our instincts. So I had to do the work to become reconnected with my body, to learn to retrust myself, retrust my body, so that I could be in a place like where I was in Tacoma, where I could respond to my instincts and not be dissociated from my instincts. And I think this is one of the key things that I keep trying to bring into this conversation, because it goes hand in hand with the ideology that we're facing, which is an ideology of external validation and dissociation.
Well, Amy, I loved your depth psychology. That is also a background of sorts. And I had 15 years of therapy with a shamanic Jungian feminist practitioner who's retired. And it's so many wonderful things. The root out for me has been singing, dancing, writing, and fundraising is talking and emailing and strategies and thinking of points and such. So I do some things well in my body and some things other people know. Just don't assign Cheryl to bouncer, Cheryl or Charlie. So anyway, I'm learning too, and I'm learning to stand. Before I went to the event, I grounded myself in love. I wanted to come from a place of love. And I actually, when I see in the video myself, I'm holding my hand over my heart. When I'm looking up at those children, they're beautiful. I was an anti-war. I know what it feels like to be 17, but we did stop the traffic on I-5 in Seattle in 1970. But that was then, and I was so moved by seeing them, and also so betrayed that our art students would shut down free speech for another artist. Myself, I'm an artist of sorts, singing, dancing, poetry, painting murals, teaching preschool, teaching fitness. So it just was so hurtful to see that. So I'm doing my own personal. I don't know what. I am going to follow up now with an organization called Moms for Liberty. I decided that it would be nice to have an address. I'm in a new community. We have transing going on in my current very close community I've known for 40 years. And I'm just finding a way to address things personally, going obliquely in my new community with bringing in the Moms Against Liberty and Dawn speaking to school people, but bringing it in carefully.
Yes, we like Dawn.
Here a long time. So I'm going to move forward in my personal way as everyone learns to do. And but I'm just you've seen me a couple times, and other people have seen me. I'm a middle sister. I do not get on sides. Everybody live and let live. I've been through a long haul with a lot of groups of women since the 1970s, and I just carry on, and I don't expect perfection. And this is the biggest renewal of women's liberation I've seen in my life for decades.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Cheryl, so much for being here today.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you can join our live chat tomorrow. And I'm putting my work website up in the stream, and I'm gonna put my email up in the stream. But be in touch, and I think let's connect about how to put something together if you want to do. I'll speak with you about putting up something for self-defense or tips.
I could work with somebody here who could do the technology and just be in. I've done Zoom, I've done electronics on computers since GoToMeeting since 1983. I can do it. Yeah, and it's simple, and I'm humble. I'm not the black belt. I did do it for a while, but it's some very simple techniques. If I could teach it to a 3-year-old, I'll show you guys what I taught to 3-year-olds. I'm not afraid of doing that.
All right.
So love you and see you soon.
Love you and see you soon.
Thank you so much.
So ladies, Little Red Reverberations, this is the site of the work that I do. This is, to me, like I said in my speech, I'm always talking about this story of Little Red Riding Hood, the story of instincts, the story of a girl trusting her instincts, calling out the predator, learning to recognize the predator. This is the work of trusting our instincts and coming to full embodiment. And this is the work of internal integrity building, this is the work of psychological and emotional equilibrium and health. This is the internal resources that we grow for ourselves so that we can stand up and say no, so that we can have these things. Okay, great. We're going to take this phone call as well. Hey, Gay, how are you? You're on live.
To accept, press 1.
Oh, to accept, press 1. Hey, welcome, Gay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, welcome.
Activist and After Ellen owner and the fabulous, very well known on Twitter, Gay Chapman. Hi.
Hello. I've been seeing in the chat a lot of women discussing armoring up for these events. And I mean, I'm not going to tell women what they can and can't do. I personally think it's not a good idea.
Okay.
Because to me, it feels like you're going to be inviting, it's going to be almost a challenge. And no matter what kind of padding, helmets, armor you put on a helmet, a bike helmet, they're going to pop you in the face. I think they're going to find it a challenge. And I mean, we're nonviolent. I mean, if things really get that bad, we're going to have to either do pop-up events where nobody really knows and we're just going to show up and do a thing and wrap it up, or have larger events and have paid security. I honestly think this is kind of the way we're going to have to go with this.
Yes, it is very important that when we're inviting people to events, we organize them in a way where there is a measure of security in place already.
This is really weird. Kat, I don't think she can hear you. I answered on my other phone. Gay, can you hear Kay Yang?
Hi, Gay, can you hear me?
No, I can only hear you.
Oh shoot,
okay.
she can't hear me. I answered in the wrong place. Okay, well but can the audience hear Gay? Okay, someone agrees with you. Okay, so they can hear you. This is very sorry, Kay, that this is a technical learning moment. Because I have Gay's phone number in my actual phone, it answered with my actual phone, not with the call-in phone.
Yeah, I
so
understand.
this is a learning moment. But I want to say, I think what Kay Yang was saying, or Kay Yang, you can type it in the chat to me, and I'll say, but I think these are complicated conversations, and I hear what you are saying because there is a certain way that it is inviting an attitude of being engaged in a confrontation.
Right?
Yeah.
I think there's men who would perceive that as a challenge.
They're
going to get physical? Okay. Yeah, we're really going to show up this time. I just think we should think really long and hard. We could use some better group tactics, maybe.
Yes.
A little bit more coordination. I mean, I honor and praise to everyone, especially you, for standing on your instincts. That was amazing. These are really difficult times. I mean, I get it.
I mean, I agree with you that I would rather fundraise and have security. I would rather have that security aspect. My expectation is that the more we do this, the less we will face, because, you know, as these men realize what they look like in the media and in the press, and as police wake up to how they look in the media and the press, I will tell everyone something about Port Townsend. After the police came off looking so terrible in the national news in Port Townsend, the way that they let women get attacked at the next event, they paid to have barricades so that the groups were entirely separated from each other. So I do think there is a lot that we can do with our media and publicly shaming the cops for not protecting us, and publicly shaming the men who are attacking women. I think there is a very good case to be made for some healthy public shaming in regards to what is happening to women in broad daylight.
Exactly. And public shaming the media for not even covering it.
Yes.
Conservative media.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. Because this is newsworthy when women try and have a speaking event, a simple speaking event, and violent men are attacking women.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
I mean, to me, that is newsworthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I love that this is going on right now, because women are showing up from here, there, and everywhere, putting their 2 cents in. And, you know, there's many, many more at home who would love to be there and are going to support differently in their own ways. There are dozens of ways that men and women can get on board writing letters, sending an email, going to your school board, talking to your teachers.
Yeah. Yeah,
Many
absolutely.
things. Talking to your own kids. That there's dozens of ways that making donations to people like you and websites, organizations. Find one, find two, and open up your purse a little bit and help out with the expenses.
Yeah, I think
going forward, I'm sure these larger events are probably going to need paid security.
Yeah,
because if they hadn't had paid security today, they would have effectively shut them down.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I want everyone to know Kay Yang has put up $1,000 of her own money towards security, but we still need more money to cover that security cost. So that is one thing that we especially want at the New York City venue. So I hope everyone understands that, you know, those of us who are organizing this is it's our passion, and it is coming out of our pockets. We appreciate the donations, but it, you know, for the most part, this is something that we are paying for because we believe in. And I'm Gay. I want to thank you so much for being on today. I want to thank you for all of the work that you do. Gay Chapman has the only lesbian only publication. They do not pretend that men are women. They do not pretend that men are lesbians. So this is a very special publication and space that she maintains and holds for lesbian conversation and news and insights. So we so appreciate you, Gay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Kay Yang, I'm sorry that we couldn't hear you on that call. I'm gonna fix that the next time I take a call, but go ahead and respond as you were wanting.
Can you hear an echo though?
Nope.
Okay. No, well, I wanted to thank Gay Chapman so much for being on the show and calling in. And it's so great every time I see her in the chat, because I really appreciate what she does with After Ellen and the fact that she has vowed repeatedly to keep After Ellen for lesbians by lesbians as long as she is there. And she just reaffirmed that commitment the other day in LA at the Speaker's Corner, the first Speaker's Corner on the tour. I was trying to pull up a highlight from that, but I have so many windows and things going on my screen. I'm going to save that clip for when I can actually get to it. But I did want to speak to what Gay was saying, because it is really important when we are organizing these events that we are taking our safety into great consideration. And that means having a protocol, whatever it is that you need to do with the women that you're organizing with, so that everyone's on the same page and you have a plan so that we can do our best to minimize conflict and minimize, physical interactions with these violent male misogynists. I think that we all need to as well think about de-escalation. And sometimes we need to think about when we need to gather our group and move away from the aggressors, because sometimes just staying there and continuing to stay in a space where you're being encroached upon, it's just going to escalate from there. So, there's a lot of things that we need to be thinking about, because as we've said, this is a lot of women coming to this. We are from different backgrounds. We have different beliefs, different ways of doing things. And a lot of women very new to these spaces. Even seasoned activists are new to seeing this level of violence in broad daylight. So one thing that's really amazing is, because we're all, different women and we respect each other's autonomy and sovereignty, we can make our own choices for what it is that we want to do and if we want to take certain risks. But we have to realize when we make those choices and there are other people with us, we're not making those choices in a vacuum. So you've got to come to agreements with the people that you're working with and have a plan and stick to it. And security is very important for these events. So we now know that this is the level of response that we're getting from TRAs in the street. And we know that that means that we do have to implement, whether it's hiring security or volunteers or being our own security and having a plan to leave when things get too heightened. This is all really important stuff. But I want to say that, you know, a lot of women in these spaces, like I said before, myself included, have been victims of male sexual abuse, male violence, and all of its many forms. A lot of us, you know, and even if you haven't been a victim of these things, we have a right to stand up for ourselves, and we have a right to fight back against violence. And that doesn't mean that we attack people. Absolutely not. We don't do that. But when you are being attacked, you know, just like when Amy stepped in to protect Lear, Amy didn't think about that. She acted on her instinct because she had to defend herself. She had to defend Lear, and she had to defend all of the women in the space. So we don't want to ignore our instincts. We need our instincts, and we need our wits about us. We know that this trans ideology is about destroying our instincts. They don't want us to ever recognize our instincts or our internal authority. And this is a war on women. This is a war on women and girls. Women and girls are under attack, and we can't just lay down and take it, because laying down and taking it is exactly the opposite. It's antithetical to a feminist message, right? You don't tell an abused woman to just lay down and just keep being abused. So we have to stand up for ourselves. Again, that doesn't mean we attack people, but we take measures to keep ourselves safe. And a lot of times that does, again, mean removing yourself from a space. But our opposition really would like to see us with no selves left to defend. Okay, they don't want us to have a self to defend. Women, females are being broken down at every level, whether it's the millions of images being flooded across the internet that depict sexual violence against women and children as something that's normal and fun. These laws that are breaking down the very definition of what it means to be a woman. These laws that are taking away our right to sex segregated spaces. The language that's being manipulated and weaponized, and it's a tool. And this language is turning us into subhuman, okay, reducing us to a subhuman level of objectified, machinified body parts. So we are being broken down. They do not want us to have a self to defend, but we are. We're not just gonna allow ourselves to be beat down. We're gonna implement whatever strategies, whether it's security, de-escalation methods, having a plan with our team, anything that we can do, you know? I don't want us to think that if we defend ourselves, that there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Kay Yang. I saw that, where did it go? I saw that someone wanted to call in,
Aquamarina.
Let me put the number back on. I think this is going to be our last call. She wanted to read a letter. Kay Yang, thank you so much for your wisdom in this conversation. Your insights and your analysis on radical feminism is really important. I want everyone to understand that, you know, radical feminism is an analysis. It's a really important background to have to be in this conversation. I urge anyone to read, especially Mary Daly. But you do not have to be a feminist to be in this. All right, here we go. Hey, Aquamarina, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. So you were saying you wrote in a letter to your local paper.
I did, but they did not publish it.
Of course, of course. Well, we are here to bear witness to that letter for you today. If you would like to share it with us.
I am so pleased that we can do this because winter is coming to Canada. It's very cold. And it's really hard for us to get together anyway because the land is so big and we don't have great transport links. So especially for Canadian guys, I think that we need to pick up pen and paper. And really, any woman can do this super easy once you get the format down. And I think I've perfected it. Are you ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay. Here we go. Recently, I received a letter from Alberta Health Services that asked who should have a pap test. Their answer was women and people with a cervix. Woman is an umbrella term. It denotes our age, adult, our species, human, and our sex, female. In this case, there is no need for a qualifier. Women should get a pap test. So why the doublespeak? Because the AHS is redefining women out of our sex class and into a series of identities that anyone can opt into and out of at any time. If the AHS was transparent about redefining us, they would have said cis women and people with a cervix. But I imagine that might confuse or distress quite a few ladies. They might wonder what on earth is happening. I started wondering in 2018. It seems that material reality is literally being redefined by gender ideologists. A brief primer. Gender ideology is a postmodern movement which includes these two tenets. Everyone is, quote, assigned a sex at birth, and everyone is born with a, quote, gender, which manifests itself as an identity or identities. Gender ideology is disseminated in part by controlling language and compelling thought. For example, many of us are now required to use someone's, quote, preferred pronouns or put our pronouns into our work email. This demand forces individuals to perform compelled speech that may be counter to reality and or their beliefs. The ideology's elevation of identities over our biological sex has many negative outcomes for girls and women. Currently, men who self-identify, including rapists and murderers, are housed in formerly single-sex prisons, resulting in the abuse, assault, and rape of incarcerated women. Now, boys and men compete in what were girls and women's sports. Besides invalidating the category, males take the podium, scholarships, and our change rooms where they can ogle females and or expose themselves. Lesbians report sexual harassment by heterosexual men who, quote, identify as women. Although lesbians are exclusively same-sex attracted females, they are sexually coerced to get over their genital preferences. And what about today's tomboys? If I was a child now, my teachers might indoctrinate me via the sexual orientation gender identity, or SOGI, lesson plan, convincing me that I had a boy gender, that I was born in the wrong body, and that I could become a boy. Adults would, quote, pause on puberty with hormones that would keep my pituitary gland from initiating the second most important growth phase of my life, interrupting the process which builds bone density, brain maturation, and organ development. The next step would be masculizing testosterone hormones causing facial hair growth, irreversible vocal changes, sterility, and vaginal atrophy. Next comes surgeries like hysterectomies and or phalloplasties. Whatever happened to women and girls? Our mothers became birthing people, and our daughters became bodies with vaginas.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
Powerful. Thank you.
Yes to everything.
I so appreciate you sharing that with us today. And
I especially appreciate you, Aquamarina, pointing out the compelled speech.
Because they're having a call for art where the call for art, lose my mind. It's going to happen on the International Day of Women next year in Calgary. And they called for artists who identify as women, but the theme for the art show is women and nature. I almost lost my mind. So I've written them that letter, but pumped up, including where I tell them that I might identify as a gender who had a bunch of money in my savings account at the bank.
Oh my God.
So the great thing about that is the customer service lady had to give me, I asked her for her superior's information, right? So she gave me the vice president of the bank, his address, and their head of human resources. So now it's going to the customer service lady, the vice president of the bank, and their human resources gal.
Good.
Nice.
I think this is a real way to move the dial from the safety of our homes.
I agree. You know, I also go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, last week I sent an email to Dr. Bronner's Cope because they did some, like, I don't know, transgender thing. And the week before that, I emailed Noom because when I was looking to sign up for Noom, they told me that there were 3 sexes and then asked me to pick my gender, but they let me no way to opt out. So now I just have like a basic letter and I send that off to everybody. So, but from a secure email account.
I love that.
It's one letter. I changed the introduction, I changed the farewell, and the body of the letter is basically the same. It's so easy. I highly recommend it.
I think that is so smart. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for being with us again today in the chat. I love that so much. And I hope that we'll see you in some of the chat tomorrow in Chicago.
I intend to be there. Hey, Amy, if you were on a football team, what would your number be?
Oh, let's see, 26.
Lucky 26.
Yeah, lucky 26. Exactly.
Rah, rah, rah.
Awesome.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Bye. I think that's an excellent tactic that Aquamarine was giving, because I think anything that we can do that can disrupt the works and cause them more time, more customer service energy, taking up their taking up their time, taking up their energy, calling their bosses, getting this information. This gums up the works, and it's very prohibitive. It makes it very prohibitive for them to want to push this ideology in our faces if they are having to face thousands of calls. Imagine that, thousands of calls gumming up their works with basically saying, no, I'm not going to participate in your survey in that way. I need to talk to someone. I need to get in touch with your manager. I mean, you know, we could all be little, you know, turf Karens, as they say. But I think, ladies, we have been here 3 hours now, and we have a big day coming tomorrow. So I do want to start wrapping it up for this afternoon, because I hope that you will all come out and join for the Chicago protest. We do expect to have some better sound equipment on the ground in Chicago. So I hope that the sound, I know sound is, that's like the thing that we always want to get right. And that is one of the things we want help with. We do also want help with security coming up. So if that's something you can contribute to, that would be great. Kay Yang has already put out a large sum of her own money because we do want to make sure that women are safe. So any support would be very, very appreciated with that. Thank you, Carmen May, so very much for being with us today and sharing your story and your insights and your analysis and perspective. It was so refreshing. And Kay Yang, do you want to, I'll let Carmen say a thank you, and then Kay Yang, you can wrap us up. Carmen, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. And one thing that everyone was talking about, never having seen protests like this, the woman that we were with, who had been protesting since the 1960s, said she'd never seen protests in all her life like this, except for the civil rights movement. And the trans movement likes to say that they're the civil rights movement, but I think that we can tell by who is beating whom, who actually is fighting for civil rights. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I can't tell you what a joy it was to have you on the show. You are absolutely brilliant. I had, I never had known you before I saw you singing and giving your testimony the other day in Portland. And right away I was like, who is that woman? I need to know who she is. So thank you so much for being so responsive when I reached out to you. And also thank you to Heather, my sister Heather, who was the one who put me in contact with you. It's really great when all of us women are communicating and connecting. That's what we do. That's what women do. And speaking of connect, Amy and I are hosting this live stream, as you know, because this is a way that we can gather and connect. We can talk in the chat. We are inviting women to come on and platforming your voices, having special guests like Carmen and women who are organizing on the ground, guests like Amy Ichikawa, like we had the other day. this is a place for us to build community, because as a lot of you all know, some of us are living in places where it's really hard to find other like-minded women. We might be completely surrounded by people who disagree with us, who actually hate what we have to say. So, you know, it's so important for us to find each other. If you go to stopfemaleerasure.com, when you type it in, you should come up, it'll come up on the screen for you. It's like a 2-second delay, I think. Let's see if it comes up here. But there's a form for you to submit your name and whatever. If you want to use a pseudonym, that's fine too. However you want to be identified, and your email, so that we can keep in touch with you all. And as we move forward after these speakers corners are over, there's a lot of women getting activated right now. We're going to do our best to try to connect women with other women who are in their region or area that you can meet up with and grow community with. So please, you know, come over here, share your information. It's all private. Nobody sees this except for us. No one sees it. It'll never be given out. And on that note as well, I have some information on the website for protest preparedness. There's like a short guide here. It's very accessible. It's meant to be for people who are brand new to all of this. It's meant to help just help you ease into understanding what these situations might be like. Very entry level, but important, because we have so many women entering into this right now. So please continue to join us on these live streams. Keep checking Amy's Twitter, because it is just full of all kinds of information and updates on what's going on.
We are getting one encore request, and we will ask our special guest if she'll comply.
Oh,
and
yes,
this will be our little encore. But there are requests to hear your song, and we would love to hear you sing it, Carmen, if you are so willing.
I am willing. Sure, I'll sing it if you guys want to hear it.
Yay.
And just thanks again to Amy and Kay Yang, the known heretic and the deprogrammer. I've been following you, Amy, but I just started watching your videos, Kay Yang, and they are so fantastic. You are so talented.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I'll sing the song. Let me take a sip of this.
Yes. I'll take a sip too.
And again, I wrote the song. I'm trying to get some, if anyone is a musician, wants to help me get the melody set out, if anyone knows people who want to, you know, sing this as a chorus, I'm trying to at some point get this recorded. But I wrote it the night before. Yeah, I would love to. I want to hear lots of women's voices. And yeah, I wrote this the night before. It was supposed to be the rally before our protest. And it's called, and here's the thing, trans activists did not get that this title was a joke. They were like, but they get so mad when we call them people and uterus havers. And it's like, well, this is why that's the name of the song, because we're not allowed to call ourselves women anymore. So it's sarcastic, and it's called People of the Uterus. Okay, it goes, this is what you do to us, your violence so gratuitous. What's violence? Nothing new to us, we people of the uterus. And this is what you do to us, your violence so gratuitous. They'll say you didn't say boo to us, we people of the uterus. And we know there's nothing we can say. There is no other way. Nothing's gonna change your mind. And we know when there's no shades of gray, start seeing us as prey. Someone's gotta hold the line. This is what you do to us, your violence so gratuitous. What's violence? Nothing new to us, we people of the uterus. And this is what you do to us, your violence so gratuitous. You think that you'll get through to us, we people of the uterus. We're saying no, males in our intimate space. For you there is no place. Things won't just turn out fine. We're saying no. Please stay away. It's dangerous to play. Go do your thing away from mine. This is what you do to us. Your violence so gratuitous. What's violence? Nothing new to us. We people of the uterus. And this is what you do to us. Your violence so gratuitous. Will be done when you are through with us. We people of the uterus.
Oh my God, that's so gorgeous. That's so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will be via 555. I'll take this out. I'll make that a separate clip. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Carmen. We appreciate it.
Yes, this as Judy, Judy, I see you. Hi, by the way. As Judy says, this is a warrior song. Absolutely. And we are all warriors here.
Yeah.
We are women warriors. We are fighting for women and girls, our bodily integrity, our autonomy. We are fighting for children. And
Carmen,
we are fighting for future generations.
Can other women sing this at their rallies? They're asking.
Absolutely, you can. And if you maybe you could reach out to Amy or to Kay Yang to get, and they can. I will send them the song, and they can forward it to you. Like I'll send them from my email to them, and you're happy to send the lyrics and over a recording. So if you guys want to use it, absolutely, it's for everyone.
Amazing, and I would like to see, you know, at these protests, if things start to get out of hand, people get crazy. One good way to de-escalate situations sometimes, because we're talking about tactics on how to prevent violence, because we are nonviolent and we want nonviolence for our events. We want peace for our events. One way to de-escalate is to break out into song, just like we saw in Port Townsend at the Let Julie Swim protests, when Amy and Gabs and Jen Thomas and some of our other women were completely surrounded by hordes of violent misogynists, and they broke out into song and started singing, "I am my mother's savage daughter." And it completely, they didn't know what to do. It caught them off guard and they were stunned. And when I heard Carmen singing her song the other day, I thought to myself, what a great way to defuse and de-escalate a situation. And, you know, when we're out there on the ground, I think breaking into a chorus of "This is what you do to us." I mean, I would love to see that. I think that this should be one of the songs of our movement. So thank you so much, Carmen, for being here with us today. Do you have a last word that you'd like to share before we end the stream?
Yes, the last thing I'd like to say is actually that's why I wrote it, for exactly that purpose.
Yeah.
I wrote it to defuse and de-escalate, and to show that hopefully to stop them and stun them, but if they continue to attack us, they're attacking us while we're singing about their violence.
Yay. All right. Thank you all, ladies. Thank you, Kay Yang, my co-host. Thank you, Carmen, my guest. And thank you, ladies, for being here in the chat. Thank you for calling in and adding your voices. Thank you for participating with your comments. Thank you for donating. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Amplify these stories. If nothing more, that is an amazing way to support this movement, is by amplifying these stories in any way that we can. And ladies, this what we hear with this song, this is also part of the embodiment. This is part of the intuition, sharing our creativity. You know, this is the antithesis again. Creativity is in itself an antithesis to dissociation. Creativity is an antithesis to the objectification. It is naturally embodied, and when we use our creativity, it's an internal authority building practice. When we create something like a song, it actually creates in us, it reiterates in us, I am an authority. I am an authority, and I create from my own authority, from my own inner wisdom. So what do you call it? It reinforces internal authority, which is, of course, the antithesis to I need external validation for my identity. It reinforces internal integrity. So
I love that.
Yeah, I
I
urge
love
you.
that so much.
I love that too.
I urge you all to add your creative voices as well. We thank you all for being here, and we will see you tomorrow. We have Kay Yang and I have a bit more work to do this afternoon, so we are going to go
a little bit.
We have to go prepare for tomorrow, so we're going to go
One
do
or
that.
two things, no big deal.
Good luck in Chicago.
Yeah, but we'll be very fresh for you in the stream tomorrow afternoon. Come participate with us. Thank you all again.
Yeah, we can't wait to see you all. Thank you all so much for being here.
Bye.